What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another installment here of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, collectibles, like hot toys, just all sorts of fun stuff like that. We have a number of news topics here to cover. This is a big week. This is probably the biggest week in the pandemic, I think. I think news, movie news, news worldwide. We got a lot of stuff, so we're gonna try to power through a lot of this, keep the show within the 2 hour mark, like we normally do. And joining me today is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'll be a little bit better when you get HBO Max. So when we get to this Godzilla versus Kong review we got coming up here, that you could actually add to it a little bit. You'll just be sitting there kind of like, I saw some clips.
right.
So
guilty.
yeah, but someone who does have HBO Max who is going to be talking some Godzilla versus Kong later on in the show is none other than John Knight himself. How you doing, John?
I'm pretty good. Allergy season is hitting, so I feel like I want to die most of the time. But other than
Hey,
that, if I could just get some drills and do some turn of the last century medicine where the drill into my head to relieve the pressure.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. But other than that, yeah, I'm good.
Well, I know the feeling. I feel that way without having sinuses.
I was gonna say, welcome to my world.
It is what it is sometimes, right? It's I don't know. I think a lot of people nowadays probably feel that way without the sinuses.
Yeah.
But a little bit dark, but it's true. That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
But as I said, we got a lot of stuff to get into. And don't forget, guys, you can submit topics and questions to the show just by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. You come up with, if there's any big news story or, just something you want us to discuss, something you think is, as long as it's appropriate for the show, like I said, movie related, comic related, a collectible, whatever, go ahead and shoot it over to us there at that email address. And I want to kick things off here too, just with a quick fun thing. Because guys, I don't know about you. Did you guys? What was your? Because I got mine. I'm gonna pull it up. But what was your guys' favorite April Fool's joke that you saw? There were a couple good ones that I saw some people posting. Primarily organizations that did some pretty good ones. Like Wowhead. It had a really good one about a new Mountain Wow was coming out, but it was a huge big thing. It was completely fake. And they literally rendered this thing and had an animation with a dude on it and stuff. If you don't play WoW, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it was a really good one. You guys had any good ones?
I just saw a lot of really good fake ads. I can't even remember for what off the top of my head, but there's always really good fake products, and they're always usually just completely off the wall.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember any specifically. I saw quite a bit of different ones. It was actually, we're going to talk about the one news story later, and I'll mention it when we get to it. But there was one news story I saw where I thought, okay, well, it's April 1st. Clearly this is just an April Fool's joke. And it turned out it wasn't. And I just thought, why in the world would you release that news that day? All the news organizations should know April 1st is not the day to release a serious news story.
That's the thing. When a lot of news was dropping on April 1st, I was dumbfounded as to why people weren't explicitly saying at the top this is not an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, clarify that.
It literally baffled me because everything I came across, I was I couldn't take it seriously. Whether is kind of annoying. I was actually annoyed as to why some journalists and sites out there weren't really affirming the fact that it wasn't an April Fool's joke, because the people who post the April Fool's joke, like the one I'm going to pull up, which is my personal favorite, it was the first one I saw too. They don't specify, I don't think they don't specify in the article that it is an April Fool's joke. So when you have people out there posting these things that are explicitly meant for April Fools, but then you have real stories who aren't at least notifying people that it's not,
right?
It gets kind of confusing out there. I'm going to pull up here because this one, I'm actually surprised I didn't hear. And granted, I don't get on social media all that often, but when I saw this, I thought it was hilarious. But I was really curious as to what the given the global climate right now of what this relates to. I'm surprised I didn't hear about a lot of backlash, and just I'm surprised this thing didn't blow up. And this one was what was this from? Comicbookmovie.com posted this thing on April Fool's, obviously, saying that the Justice League sequels are now officially announced, and they even go as far as saying, what was her name? Ann Sarnoff or whoever the Warner Brothers CEO, her name just
Ann
escaped me.
Sarnoff,
I
yeah.
think, yeah. They quote her, and they like have like a statement on here, like from what she said, like we simply didn't realize how much of a demand there was for Zack's take on Justice League, and like the Restore the Snyderverse movement showed us the error of our ways, like I was just, it was good, but I was actually shocked, and like granted, like I said, I don't pay much attention to social media. I'm not on it at all. So maybe this did rub a lot of people the wrong way. But, the camp of the Restore the Snyderverse camp, who we'll just say is like a little bit more toxic than like some others out there. I'm surprised there wasn't some huge uproar of it.
No,
Maybe
some
I missed
backlash,
it though.
yeah.
Yeah, did you guys like see this blow up at all anywhere, or was like, because I just saw it, thought it was hilarious, and like sent it to you guys. And,
I
like,
saw it
that
on
was
Facebook. Like it just popped up in my news feed, but I knew, I was like, it's April 1st. It's bullshit. Like,
As soon as I saw it, I was like, "There's no fucking way this is real." Like,
Right.
it's just no way it's real. And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's April 1st. It's totally fake." So yeah, because I didn't like dupe me or anything. I just instantly was just like, "What is this?" And then obviously I saw the date and I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's what I thought."
Yeah, I mean, there's there's a way to do April Fool's jokes, and then there's, whatever. Congratulations to them for, I'm sure, getting lots of clicks on this. I don't know what the backlash was, about it. Like, the one thing I thought about this article was like, it was written in a way that it doesn't like. I don't know. To me, there's a way to do April Fool's jokes. If you're going to do one, all the more power to you. Let's have fun with it, but make it a clear April Fool's joke. Be as sarcastic as you can be with it. Like they should have had the Ann Sarnoff comment should have been like, "Oh my God!" Like, I'm thinking about choosing a new career because of how poorly I judged what the fan demand was for this. Instead, it was a pretty boilerplate, which would have sounded like something somebody in her position would have said if they had to reverse course and actually did bring the movies out. So on the one hand, I get it. It's, it was clever on their part, especially given the timing of it. But on the other hand, too, I was like, if they do get blowback, it's kind of deserved too, because they really didn't play up the joke aspect of it. Like they were like, I felt to me like they were legit trying to trick people and get people's hopes up, only for them to then be dashed, which
Right.
is maybe a step too far in my opinion for what you do on April Fools. Like April Fools is you joke around with people, sure, but it is just a joke. It's not intentionally meant to, because there are a lot of people that are you just look at the number of people that supported that and got the Justice League cut, Snyder's cut, put back on in the first place. Like those people, I'm sure aren't real happy that they're being made fun of by this second-rate movie site. So
Yeah,
we'll
true.
see.
I will say I'll give them this much. They teeter the line, because on like this line right here that they say Sarnoff said, where it says, the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse movement showed us the error of our ways, and when his legions of fans proved their passion and dedication by hijacking our hashtag Stop Asian Hate hashtag, well, we just knew we couldn't ignore them any longer.
Okay, that I didn't see that part.
Yeah, that one,
that
like,
is a little, that plays it up a
yeah,
little more.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, let's be real here. There's so many people out there who don't read the article to begin with.
Sure.
They just read the headline. Like this thing,
I'm a
this thing
good
has
example of that.
36K shares, right? That more than likely, I'd say easily 75% of them, they just saw the headline and shared it.
I'm guilty of just reading headlines, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, you do it all the time.
I know, and I'll drop it in Discord, and it's like something totally not.
That's the thing. You always want to follow the source. And
I just
then
see it,
actually
and I'm like, what?
Yeah, take a peek in the article first before, because like I feel like if anybody was like super duped by this, like this line, where it kind of gives it away a little bit, but there are people out there who still wouldn't get the sarcasm from that.
No,
they wouldn't get it. They would literally just think it's like a normal statement. But either way, I thought it was funny. Whether or not it was, not that like I support Restore the Snyderverse. I want to see it go on. So don't get me wrong like that. I'm not saying it's funny that like they got him or anything. I just thought it was a funny, well-timed article on their part because of the, like you said, like the Snyderverse thing's kind of popping off. So it was like, it was a good job. It was a good April Fool's joke to do. So the only other thing, completely unrelated to April Fool's, but is in line with Snyder Cut here that I thought was interesting at the very least was Joe Maganellio. He had an ET interview here, and you can, if you don't want to read it, there is a video with it. But I'm gonna like talk just about like some. There's like two things that I found kind of interesting that he sort of confirms, and then something that kind of goes against like a lot of the reports that we've pretty much had about the future of like the Snyderverse and Justice League 2, and all that ever since the theatrical cut came out. So in this article, he goes on to and actually confirms like 100% that Deathstroke's initial plans, like he was casted to be the villain explicitly in Ben Affleck's Batman movie from day one. He confirms that was always the plan. That's where he got casted. He wasn't like casted for Justice League or anything like that. He was cast for that. Then they had the idea to shoot that scene to explicitly set up Batman. Ben Affleck's Batman. So what you see in like the Snyder cut, that dialogue between him and Lex Luthor at the end of the film, that's how it was originally. And then what was in the theatrical cut where they set up Justice League 2 essentially, that was like thrown in after the fact. But what's interesting, like, because if you remember in which well, that was just that alone I thought was a good little tidbit that's like been confirmed 100% that was the plans for Deathstroke, and I'm bummed that we're not going to get that movie. There's more on that in a minute. But the other thing, which I find actually, I'm going to say it again, you're going to get annoyed by it. Most interesting about this article or this interview was he goes on to say that that scene got cut from the movie, which we know it got cut from the movie because we didn't see that scene, like setting up the Batman part, until Snyder Cut came out. So he was just told that the scene was cut. They weren't going to use it anymore because they weren't going to do the movie and like blah, blah, blah. But then like shortly before Justice League theatrical cut came out, or Justice League, whichever one you want to call it, he got a call from one of the studio executives that said, they told him that the scene was retooled. And it was retooled explicitly in Joe's words to set up Justice League 2. And if you know the scene where it's him and Lex Luthor in the theatrical cut, when Lex says, it kind of cheesily says, you know, maybe it's time we have a league of our own or whatever, you know, Injustice League or Legion of Doom kind of thing, whichever you want to call it. But what's weird about that is if you remember, even as far back as the theatrical cut of Justice League, there were reports, like numerous reports over the years that like they were done with the Justice League. They weren't going to do a sequel, all this stuff, you know, like even now, like they've confirmed even since the Snyder Cut came out, they're not moving forward with more. They've recently referred to the whole Snyderverse itself as a cul-de-sac. It's Snyder Cut of Justice League was a one-shot thing, etc. But it's a little bit contradictory because back in 2017, it was 2017, 2016, whichever year it was, I think it was 2017, when Justice League came out, Joe was explicitly called and told that that scene was retooled for Justice League 2. So they actually did, at least some executives at Warner Brothers actually did have plans to move forward with Justice League in some capacity. Now, whether or not that would have been with Zack or, you know, with Joss or another director, who knows? But I found it quite interesting that, you know, it's contradictory. I found it interesting. They did have plans to do Justice League 2, which makes sense because, like I said, if you see the scene, he does the whole tease for, you know, Legion of Doom or whatever. But I don't know, it was pretty much like as soon as that movie came out, we were told it was dead. You know, like Ben Affleck left, they weren't going to do it anymore, all this stuff. So, and then obviously the last thing that they kind of confirm, or he confirms in this article, is there were rumors and reports a while back that they were trying to do a Deathstroke solo film in lieu of the Ben Affleck Batman movie getting canceled. And I'm really disappointed about this. This is the part I'm most disappointed about. They had, at the time, Gareth Evans, which if you're not familiar with Gareth Evans, he was a director of The Raid and The Raid 2, which was just some very intense choreographed fighting, you know, movies. Really good. Go check them out. But Joe and Gareth Evans were trying to get like a solo Deathstroke movie made, so it would have been like the absolute most amazing, like just brutal Deathstroke movie. Like if you can imagine John Wick, but it's Deathstroke.
That'd be
Like,
sweet.
that's what it would have been. Like, but with honestly almost even like more intense action. Like it would have been super awesome. Or like Dread, the Carl Urban Dread, obviously, but Deathstroke. That's what they were trying to do. And like he confirms that like him and Gareth Evans were trying to get it done, and now that's canceled too. So I hope that someday that still happens. Like that would be amazing to me. But those were just little things. It was just kind of I don't know, just throw away a little like random. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. It was just like a little ET article, but I found those little 3 tidbits, as I said numerous times now, interesting. So before we move on, did you guys want to add anything to that?
No, I think it would be sweet if they would have done that Deathstroke movie though, like you were talking
Dude,
about.
I want that movie so bad.
Like a really gritty, intense. Because yeah, he's basically like a super soldier kind of person, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like John Wick on steroids, quite literally.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be sick.
Well, it would have been awesome because I mean, even in there was most recent because they could have done a lot of things with it, like as far as like backstory, they could have played with it. They could have because Deathstroke doesn't have any like one true origin like Bruce Wayne does. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
his
not like
parents
his
died.
parents.
Like,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want. Like you could just copy John Wick and just say like his wife was killed or something, or and then
Yeah.
his dog was killed,
His
and that
dog, yeah.
starts it. Like it doesn't matter. Like the whatever just starts it is whatever. Like the whole thing would be there, kind of like Godzilla versus Kong. Is like we're there to watch the monsters fight. I don't care how you get there. And it'd be the same with this movie. Like just show Deathstroke whooping some ass, man.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I would like a good story, but I don't know. I'm really bummed about that. Do you have anything you want to add, John? Because that's pretty much all I had with it.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say Joe Maganelli, right? Is that how you pronounce it? He's been
Maganellio.
Maganello. Sorry, Joe. I
Maganellio.
apologize, Mr. Maganello.
It's a name.
He's been making the rounds like on a lot. He's been doing a lot of different interviews, obviously, with Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out and stuff. And he did another one just recently where he said that in the Batman movie that he was supposed to do in Ben's Batman movie, he actually said the Batgirl was supposed to make an appearance in that movie, which I found really interesting. There was something about like at one point he's fighting Batman and he gets the upper hand on Batman, and Batgirl shows up to help out Batman because he's never faced anybody like Deathstroke before. So he's been dropping these little tidbits all over the place, which I really appreciate and find interesting, and just makes me want to see those stories told even more. I will say with the Justice League clip, the Injustice League or the Legion of Doom teaser at the end of it makes sense to me that he would have been brought back to film something. I mean, while I think probably most people, most logical people, hopefully people in the studio that watched that movie before it came out, realized that there probably wasn't going to be the opportunity for a sequel, that the box office numbers weren't going to be great. I also feel like when they invest that much time and that much money into building that universe, that they probably wanted to leave a door open at least in case they had completely misread the audience and people for some reason really did enjoy the Justice take of Justice League and ended up like if that movie had made like $1.5 billion somehow magically, if the world had a spontaneous lobotomy and they all loved it, then they would have gone forward. They would have needed something to go forward with the sequel for, and that would have kind of set the stage for that nicely. So it's not surprising they threw something at the end. As it turns out, it's a nothing thing that will never result in anything. So it is what it is.
If Justice League would have made $1 billion, we would have had Justice League 2 by now. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Like, no question. So yeah, it obviously makes sense that even if they had no intention to it, it'd probably be better to leave a door open than to just wrap it all up for sure. So, but that is interesting too with the Batgirl thing because it kind of makes sense because for the longest time, Joss Whedon was developing a Batgirl solo movie. So I'm wondering if that was like the connection because the Ben Affleck he was obviously brought on and that discussion was happening shortly after and during the Justice League time period. So then that's when Ben's movie was still tentatively moving forward. That's when Deathstroke was there and all that stuff. So it makes sense. It
Yeah.
probably would have been the same Batgirl, I imagine. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They were actually doing the thing where they were thinking about connecting things in a logical way. Like even then, they actually tried right there,
connecting the dots.
Yeah, like that's
Well,
kind of nice.
And I'll also say this too, like when you watch, hearing Joe say that, the scene that's in Snyder's cut is to directly set up his involvement in the Batman movie, which clearly it is. And then you also see the scenes with Aquaman and Willem Dafoe, and the talk about his brother and he needs to go back and take care of his brother, and then you see how well that dovetails into what played out in the Aquaman movie and James Wan's Aquaman movie. I mean, clearly Zack Snyder, as much as he was making the movie for himself, was also doing what Warner Brothers wanted and needed done, which is set the stage for these characters to go off to their own movie. I mean, there are direct plot points and storylines that were picked up and followed through in the individual movies. So he really did layer the movie with all these other things that needed to be done for the building of the universe that they were doing.
Yeah, for sure. I just hope Joe can get this Deathstroke movie made, because Joe's one of us. I'd love to be able to have Joe on the show one day.
That would be sweet.
He's got a huge he runs like the most like Hollywood famous D&D game. Like what Vince Vaughn plays D&D with him. Who else? Dan and Dave, like Dan and Dave Weiss from like Game of Thrones. They're on his D&D campaign. Like he's just a cool ass dude. He wrote a D&D book with Sam Witwer.
He's an interesting guy.
He's a cool ass dude. He listens to metal and he's got his home gym just like I do. Like, what's up?
You listen to metal?
Yeah.
No.
Like, when I work out.
Yeah, I was gonna say like not as much as we used to.
I don't listen. Like I listen to EDM most of the time, just when I'm out and about doing stuff in my everyday world. But if I'm working out, I don't like.
You want something intense?
Yeah, I don't like listening to that. I got to listen to the music, the same music I listened to back in high school.
Exactly, and it's literally the same music.
Literally, yeah.
Back in high school,
all those bands have progressed in their lives, and they.
I haven't heard any of the new albums or anything.
Yeah, I don't know any of the songs. I don't even
know
if
Whitechapel. Whitechapel's really good. Their new albums.
I still only listen to the first two Whitechapel albums.
You gotta check out that new.
I listened to I Killed the Prom Queen has had like 2 different singers, and I still only listen to Music for the Recently Deceased with Ed Butcher.
He liked one of my pictures on Instagram.
I know. I talked to Ed Butcher at one point in time. Ed Butcher's a nice dude, and it's the only one I listen to. He's like my favorite vocalist, so it's the only one I listen to still to this day. Parkway Drive, same way. Only the first 2 albums. Like, like nothing else.
There's later.
Suicide Silence, same way. 2 albums. But unfortunately, R.I.P. Mitch Lucker. So I don't even know what they're up to anymore. Also a very nice guy. Good group of guys. We hung out with him a couple times.
Yeah.
But either way, there's one more quick thing we're going to cover just because it is Snyder Cut related. There was an article that came out recently. I believe these numbers came from Samba TV. So take this with a grain of salt, because I don't know how accurate this is in regards to. Well, let me finish it, then I'll get into that in a minute. So there was a report that came out. Samba TV is like an analytic company. They somehow get access to. I'm not 100% familiar on how this works logistically, because I when. We were talking about this before the show, and like they used to have like the Nielsen boxes and stuff, the things where you get the ratings, where the companies could get ratings. It's a ratings thing. God, I don't know why I'm stumbling over this. This has been a long topic. Either way, there was this article that came out that said essentially that 2.2 million households watched the Zack Snyder Justice League in the first week of release, but Samba TV got like all these numbers, and they said that. I guess Warner Brothers is on, and as far as HBO Max is concerned, are counting at least 5 minutes of the program. Like if you watch something for 5 minutes, that counts as watching the film. So if you've turned it on for 2 minutes, that wouldn't count as you watching it. If you watch it for 5 minutes or more, then it counts as someone watching it. Interestingly enough, Netflix has changed what they deem like themselves a couple times. Like I remember something back in not too long ago, it was literally something crazy. Like if they watched like a minute, they were counting it as a view. And that's the kind of thing like autoplay could have turned in while you were taking a piss. Like, and they were counting that as a view. Like it was crazy. 5 minutes is at least like, I consider that to be a good benchmark, because if you get 5 minutes into something, you're probably gonna watch it, I would imagine, or at least maybe if it's doesn't seem like it's for you within 5 minutes. I don't know. Zack Snyder's Justice League is pretty much 5 minutes. It's just still like the freaking intro. Like you haven't even really gotten into anything, but nevertheless, they count that in there. So 2.2 million households essentially watched at least 5 minutes of Justice League. But then there's deeper data that Samba TV was able to get, and they said when it comes to people who actually sat through all 4 hours of Justice League, the number was actually a lot smaller in that it was 800,000. So out of the 2.2 million people who watched at least 5 minutes of it, only 800,000 of them ended up watching the movie in its entirety. And that's about 36%. So the thing that isn't necessarily clear here is that I don't know if this is counting people who maybe watched an hour of it and then the next day watched an hour of it and then finished it. Like at that point, like maybe the third viewing they finished it, maybe watched half, went to sleep, the next day finished it. I don't know if this data is, because it's not clear in the article or anything, whether or not it's counting people actually finishing it on another day. This data essentially is just saying that 36% of people actually finished the movie. So like watch it in its entirety is what it like goes on to say. So because there's been some people out there saying that like this is like obviously bad because the numbers don't look good when you see that only 36% of the people even finish watching the freaking movie. Like it doesn't sound good, but is that actually taking into account for people coming back and watching it later? Because it's a 4-hour movie. I don't actually blame anybody for not finishing the movie at once. So I don't know, because not to mention, if you got 2 hours into it and you're just like, I don't like this, and maybe a lot of people out there just started watching it because of all the hype, and they're not interested in it to begin with, but they tried it and then they didn't go back and finish it. I don't know. It is interesting. I'd be curious to hear more numbers come if more data can come out with this to actually say like a more precise number of people who actually fully completed the movie would be interesting to see, because like I said, this article doesn't necessarily say whether or not they don't have that number. They don't present that figure. They have what I explained earlier. So before I move on, guys, did you want to add any of this? You think it's good or bad? You think it just kind of is what it is?
It is what it is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I still think in the end, 2.2 million eyes on it, even if it was just for 5 minutes, says a lot.
Yeah.
Like whether or not they finished it, I mean, who cares?
Right.
Well, that's also 2.2 million logins. You don't know how many eyes actually were on that, because if
That's true.
a couple is watching it, if it's all couples watching it, then you double
family.
that at least. If it's an entire family, then if it's a watch party, then you have even more. I mean, the numbers with streaming are so ambiguous nowadays that like it's hard to take anything and really get a good feel on what. Don't like we were talking about this before we got on. Like the only people that know anything is HBO Max and Warner Brothers. They have their internal data. They know what's going on.
There's just so many variables to that. Like it's like you said. I mean, is it one person? Is it 10 people? Is it
Now there are some external numbers that people are pointing to that I think maybe offer at least a glimmer of a better insight into what's going on. Like I saw that downloads of the HBO Max app were up like I'm going to get this number is not the right number. I'm just exaggerating it just for the sake of, but that they were up like 10 times the next closest streaming service download for that week period. And that they were up like, I don't know, something like 65% more than it had ever than the highest download numbers ever, even including Wonder Woman 84 or something. Those numbers are not real. I don't want somebody seeing this and going, well, it did great because this guy said this. I'm making those up but I know that they were good numbers. I don't have the article in front of me, so I can't quote the specific numbers. But you can look at something like, because that app data is coming from like the Google Play Store and the iTunes Store and the App Store on for Apple, and those numbers they make available. That they're not as secretive with those kind of numbers as the streaming companies are with in terms of views. So you can look at some of that stuff and then try and use data like what you gave here, Rob, and use data from other sources like that, and kind of try and create a total picture. You can use social media, interactions, mentions, things like that, and try and create a better picture of what's going on. But it's unfortunate that I'm not sure what the motivation behind the streaming service is keeping this stuff secretive is, unless it's strictly insurance against their bottom line, that they're afraid that if a movie doesn't perform well, that if it gets out somehow, people will abandon the platform or something. I don't know. I find that hard to, like, performance doesn't seem to really determine, I wouldn't think, what people do in the future. I would think the products that you're putting out and the what kind of stuff you're offering people would determine that more, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's the thing. I feel like with this one, with like the Snyder Cut, for instance, too, because some like you'll see every once in a while. Like I think we even said like last week we had a story about like Disney Plus said that Falcon Winter Soldier was the biggest viewed premiere on their platform like to date or whatever. So they'll release the good stuff when it's not necessarily like the actual numbers all the time, but they'll at least they'll put out a press report and make an announcement of like all the good stuff. And I think like one thing to maybe consider, this might be a little tinfoil hatty, but it's almost with the Snyder Cut would be like a double-edged sword if they were to come out and say if it was a huge success, because then like you're gonna have all this people like, well, then why aren't you doing more? Like blah blah blah. Like you see, like your numbers like are doing this, you're getting this much, and why don't you do more? As opposed to it just being just enjoying what you got out of it. And
True.
then if they're obviously not going to say if it's bad, like if the numbers are bad, no one's going to report on that. So kind of a double-edged sword. I feel like as if they came out and said like, oh yeah, it did great, it got this many views, then you have people who are like, well, wow, that's really good. But then you have people who are going to be like shitty about you not doing more stuff because look how good it is. You guys are saying it's good yourselves. So I don't
Right.
know. It kind of is what it is. Before I move on, though, I
Yeah.
did forget we have one more DC related topic, so I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to knock this one out too. So recently here, Warner Brothers came out and they canceled 2 films that were kind of remnants of the old days in a lot of ways. So the New Gods film from Ava DuVernay has been canceled as in addition to the Aquaman spinoff about the trench. So like, let me see. Tom King and Ava DuVernay were actually developing the New Gods thing, and then James Wan and I forget who else was actually developing this trench thing. There was an interesting quote from them, from Warner. Don't know if it's in this article. I think this is it right here. Yes, this is it right here. So in a statement, Warner Brothers said it looked forward to a continued partnership that New Gods and the Trench will remain. Like if they were to, if for whatever reason in the future they were going to come back and they decide to do a Trench movie or a New Gods movie, they're going to get back in touch with Ava DuVernay and James Wan. You know what I mean? Like, so they're not like never going to work with them again. Like they're just tabling these 2 movies for now. And then another thing they said, and I don't see it in this article, but they said that they look forward to working with them like on other titles or something like that. They were kind of insinuating that they have an open door, maybe even might be discussing other projects like with Ava DuVernay and with, we know James Wan's doing Aquaman too, so. But the other quote that for whatever reason is not in this article, or at least I'm not seeing it, they go on to say that, which was kind of interesting. So I was kind of looking forward to seeing New Gods personally. I don't know if it would have been like the right time for a New Gods movie, or if it would even really work. In all honesty, because like no one's really familiar with that stuff for the most part. It would have been an interesting thing to do. Like I honestly think like maybe they should wait to see how Eternals does, but it's not really going to be a 1-to-1 comparison because it's an MCU movie and the MCU kind of always does good, whether or not it's the best MCU movie or not. They freaking average $1 billion. So the New Gods is, even though they have similarities, it's really they're entirely different. So But in the end, I was not surprised by this in the least because they're just like I said, I never really saw a New Gods movie actually working with with the global audience, the general audience, unless it was just like a really good movie, which like Ava DuVernay could have made a really good movie. So I'm, I'm bummed it's not happening. But either way, but then this Trench movie, I don't care who you have working on it. It was always the weirdest choice. These you're gonna make an entire movie about the trench. It's like a 5 minute scene, if that, from Aquaman. Or it's just about these like what was it gonna be? Like it made no sense. It's like Warner Brothers makes like some weird ass decisions. They got all these characters they can make a movie about. And they decide, let's make a movie about there's a cool scene in Aquaman with them little trench monsters. Why don't we make that? Like, fuck, dude, make the Batgirl movie you were gonna make. Make the Nightwing movie you were gonna make. Like, I never not that the trench movie couldn't have been good. James Wan's great, but like, get your priorities right, man. That's what I always thought about this. Like, I'm gonna say, like, stupid trench movie. Like, who cares? Who cares about the trench movie? I thought it was always stupid, but that's just me. It could have been great though. I'm not saying it's bad. I love James Wan. He's great. So that was the last DC topic. You guys want to add anything to that? That's all I got.
You've covered.
I mean, Ava DuVernay she's still tied to the Naomi project for the CW, DC's Naomi, which is a relatively new character that was created by Brian Michael Bendis when he came over from Marvel. And he started writing the Superman line of comics. He also wrote a series called Young Justice, and he introduced a new character named Naomi into the DCU. And so she is going to be developing a series for the CW with that. So she's still involved with Warner Brothers. I was actually shocked. Yeah, I shouldn't say shocked. I was surprised a little bit. By the way, this is the story I said that the news broke on April 1st, and I thought, is this just an April Fool's joke? Because I didn't understand why DC would announce this on April 1st. Like, you don't announce actual real news on April 1st because the inclination is, oh, this is just an April Fool's joke. Turns out it wasn't. But the what was I going to say? The script was written by Ava DuVernay and Tom King, and Tom King is also he's written a lot of stuff. He most recently, or maybe most famously in the comics world, wrote Batman with the Rebirth line that DC did a few years back. And his Batman run was pretty epic and garnered a lot of attention for him. It was excellent. I love the run. But he had also done a few smaller books. And one of the smaller books that he had done, within the past 5 to 10 years was a book called Vision for Marvel, which strongly influenced the Wanda and Vision TV show, that the WandaVision show that was just such a huge hit for Disney. So I was pretty surprised to see that WB would shelve this New Gods movie, given the creators that were involved with it. I mean, he has a lot of what's the word I want?
Clout.
Prestige or clout, yeah, coming off of WandaVision because of how much his story influenced the way that show played out. And so he also, and that's the other thing that ties the reason that he has some I can't think of the word. Anyway, that's the reason that he should be involved in a New Gods movie, is because after Vision, he wrote a story called Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle is one of the DC New Gods. He's married to Big Barda, one of the other DC New Gods. And their story took place, Mr. Miracle book took place all within New Genesis and Apocalypse and Darkseid and Highfather and the whole New Gods world. And so he just seemed like a natural fit to write a script, especially based on Ava's involvement with it. And so for DC to cancel it coming out of the success of WandaVision was surprising, and one of the reasons that I thought it was an April Fool's joke when I first saw it. So anyway, I was surprised to see that happen. And then also, as far as the James Wan Trench movie, at the time I heard that Warner Brothers was looking to diversify their genre. They didn't want to just do straight superhero movies because they're Warner Brothers and they have to have different genres and whatever. And that the reason that they greenlit the Trench was they felt it could be their kind of way into superheroes, but horror type superhero films. So I don't know how if they were gonna bring in other Aquaman characters, and have them involved with the Trench storyline and expand the world out that way. But yeah, in the scheme of things, I would much rather see them focus on some of their core superheroes that we've never seen adapted to the big screen. So
Right.
we'll see.
That's the thing. Like, it's like you want to do that, but then like you had all these other things in development. Like, I mean, for God's sake, we've been waiting on Flash and Black Adam for how long now? Like, and then
Right.
they had, like I said earlier, like the Batgirl thing was in development, the Nightwing thing was in development, and until Titans, there wasn't any live action Nightwing anything. It's like everybody
Yeah.
wants to see that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want a
Well,
Trench movie before that stuff. Like, that's the
And
thing.
Trench was announced after Aquaman, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
both of these movies were announced within the past couple years. So both of these
Mhm.
movies were announced under Walter Hamada's tenure, correct?
I don't know. It was always a the thing is with these announcements and these projects is like normally they're in development. Like if let's say in June the Trench was announced, okay, just to the public. That means they've been talking about it for months. Like they were getting the ball rolling on this as early as January. If the public finds out about it in June, so like who really knows? Like they could have been on set doing the Aquaman movie, and then the Trench stuff happened, and like someone liked the Trench thing, and they decided to do that. James Wan could have freaking pitched it when he pitched Aquaman to him, for all we know. But it's always a tricky thing to like just go by like when the public announcements is made, because it's not like when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, for instance. It's not like he accepted the call the day before, or accepted the role the day before we found out about it.
Yeah.
Like he it's been on record to show that like he knew he was gonna be Batman. I think it was like 3 to 4 months before the announcement was ever made. He was Batman. You know what I mean? So it's like it's always kind of finicky to say. I'm more disappointed, obviously, in the new Gods thing, because I love the new Gods stuff. I would have loved to have seen it explored more. I don't know if like the Snyder cut and the direction they were going with, like what Snyder did with like Darkseid and all that, if that had any effect on it. They could have completely focused on New Genesis, so it may not have had anything to do with Darkseid and all that. So who really knows? But this Ava DuVernay is like very talented, and it had Tom King attached to it as well. So like that was exciting. And if you're not familiar with like Ava DuVernay's work, there's two things that like, at least in my opinion, that I know she's like really well known for, and that's Selma and the mini series on Netflix called When They See Us, which was really good. So that's what if you haven't seen anything, go check those two out, because those are like really, really, really good movies. So he most recently did like that Wrinkle in Time movie by Disney. Don't watch that movie.
No.
Don't watch that movie. That movie ended up being terrible. So unfortunately, I don't know what happened with that. Everybody has a bad day at the office, though. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for the big DC. That was a 40-minute intro in DC news coverage there for today. So guys, let us know what you think about that. What did we go over there? We had the Joe Manganiello stuff. We had the 36% of viewers with the Snyder cut in general. And then we had the cancellation of New Gods and the Trench movie, the James Wan Trench movie. So let us know what you thought about that. Which story of those stand out to you? And were you excited for a Trench movie? Or like, let me know if I'm crazy and I just thought that would be. Here's the thing. Like I said, it could have been an amazing movie. It could have been awesome. The Trench scene was cool in Aquaman. I just don't think it's really something that you should be focusing on right now. Like, you got so much stuff that you could do otherwise. Like, let's get Aquaman 2 before the Trench even. Like, who the hell knows? But let us know what you think about all that down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic here is we got some casting announcements here. One rather large casting announcement. We're going to go with the smaller casting announcement first here. And that is our boy, who I just got a hot toy of here. If you caught the stream this past Friday, I had our boy Russel Crowe has been cast in the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder film. So it's a little bit of a reunion for the Australian boys. Well, no, that's not true, because Christian Bale is not Australian; he's British. But either way, they were in 310 to Yuma. Christian Bale and our boy Russel Crowe here, Maximus Morelius here, has been reunited here for Thor: Love and Thunder. So it hasn't been announced what his role is going to be or anything, but it sounds like it's going to be just a small role. So I'm curious if he's just going to be kind of in like one of those, like the play scene.
That's what I was thinking.
But the thing is that's odd with that, Rick, since you just chimed in with it here, we had those set photos that we covered. They were already filmed, that scene.
Yeah,
that's not something that
that's not something they're gonna do multiple of in the movie,
that would be like. They shot it and it's done. Especially when you have Matt Damon and all these people there, like they're not gonna come back out 6 months to like finish the fucking scene. They shoot that in a week and they're done.
But I feel like this movie's gonna have a lot of like little cameo appearances because that's kind of like what they've done in like Thor movies. But
yeah, well, I'm thinking too, like since we know Christian Bale is playing what's his name? Something the God Butcher. I can't remember what his character's name is. I just know his like title is the God Butcher.
The God Butcher.
God damn it. John, you remember his name? I can't remember his name. Like,
no,
can't remember either. Either way, I think it's Thor's uncle is who Christian Bale is playing. Something the God Butcher. Can't freaking remember. Who's going to be the bad guy supposedly? But I'm wondering if maybe like Russell Crowe is going to be playing like Christian Bale's brother or something.
Yeah,
and maybe he's like the good brother. But I don't know if the God Butcher dude has a brother, but this ain't the comics. It could very well, he could in the MCU. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This was interesting though. I love Russell Crowe, so I'm always excited to see what he's going to do. I love Taika Waititi.
I like your action figure of him.
Yeah, I got the Hot Toys Jor-El.
I mean the likeness is spot on.
It's spot on. Not this version of Russell Crowe here. No. It doesn't look like Russell Crowe does right now.
No.
But it looks exactly like Russell Crowe looked as Jor-El. Like it's a really good, even for one of their older head sculpts. Like I even commented on like the Man of Steel Henry Cavill head sculpt is nowhere near as accurate to Henry Cavill as this Russell Crowe one.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, though, I know this isn't entirely related, but John, you might, since you have a couple Hot Toys, you might be able to comment on this as well. And I have another example for it, but Hot Toys seems to do substantially better with old man faces than they do young man faces. And if you need any evidence of that, go look at every Luke Skywalker figure from A New Hope, Empire, or Return of the Jedi, and then look at the ones from the sequel trilogy. All of the sequel trilogy ones look identical to Mark Hamill.
Yeah, they
almost
really do.
None of the young Mark Hamills look like Mark Hamill.
Are those older figures though?
To be fair,
no,
I think
not.
a beard is easier to replicate than because a beard is just hair and length and.
But it's the actual face though. Like even Harrison Ford,
the
old man Harrison Ford is spot
when you have
on.
when you have a clean shaved hair, or when you have a clean shaved Mark Hamill in the Luke figures, and then you've got old man Luke. The old man Luke has that big beard, and like it's easier to hide and not be as precise with the facial features. I think. I don't know. Maybe it's more than that, but
it's more than that. Look at this shit. Look at this.
Yeah.
Bam.
I don't know. The old one.
The old one's spot on.
No, the new one's like the younger one. I don't think it's too bad.
It's not as spot on. It's not as good.
Click that other picture.
That picture's kind of pixelated.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like spot on.
Like this old man Harrison Ford is like that's Harrison Ford, dude.
Yeah.
Like that is, and that's the thing. It's crazy because there's so much more going on with his face. Like it's all the wrinkles and stuff. It's like
God, when he was in Rise of Skywalker, man, he's showing his age now.
Like like. I can see the resemblance of Harrison Ford here, but it's not like the old one. Like that old man Harrison Ford is like that's Harrison Ford. Like there's no question.
But there are distinguishing features. Like I feel like it's again, I think it's kind of the same. It's what I was saying with the beard. I think to some extent there are distinguishing features about the older sculpt. Like when he has the younger person doesn't have the wrinkles and stuff. You throw the wrinkles in on the right spot, they're going to replicate the face better. Then I don't know. I feel like when you have more distinguishing features to throw in, those features as long as they're incorporated, will give you the impression of the person better.
Harrison does have distinguishing features though, because he's got a crooked nose and he's got the little scar on his chin. And then and that's the thing too. It's weird because this is Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
and
I
Alden
thought that was a
Ehrenreich.
great
That looks-
sculpt. Yeah,
Like that's him. So like they do nail some like young faces too. Like I mean, think of all the freaking just hot toys that you have of just like younger men. Like they look great. Even some women, they can't do a freaking Gal Gadot head sculpt to save them their lives. Though I swear to God, I think that's why I've never wanted a Wonder Woman figure from. I hope they get. Although I think the Wonder Woman 84 one looked a lot better. But either way, this isn't Hot Toys talk. We saved that for the stream. Either way, this is about Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. You got any ideas of what Russell Crowe is going to be doing in Thor 4? You excited that he's here, John?
yeah, I like Russell Crowe. Obviously, Man of Steel's one of my favorite movies, and I've liked him in lots of other stuff. I like Gladiator. I'm not as huge a fan as everybody else seems to be about that one. So, but
Same.
yeah, he's a great actor. Like I'm excited that they're just again Marvel just cast quality people in their films. So, I don't know that he is. I don't know that I believe he's going to be part of like the play aspect of it. One of the reasons I don't know that is I believe we saw in those set photos that Melissa McCarthy was on set in some of those photos.
Yeah, it looks like they already did that whole scene.
And I don't ever remember them giving a casting announcement for Melissa McCarthy. So I feel like since they did an actual casting announcement for Russell Crowe, that he might have a little more of a part than just appearing in there, in that scene.
It's possible. I'm excited to see what it is. I love Russell Crowe. Like I said, I love Taika Waititi. I love Thor Ragnarok. I thought it was great. So I'm glad the whole thing's coming back. They've got a lot going on in this movie, though. They got Natalie Portman coming back. They got freaking Christian Bale coming in here. Christian Bale said he would never do a comic book movie again. But I mean, you throw Taika Waititi in the director's chair, Christian Bale come be in your movie. Like, can't pass that up. So, question is, guys, what do you think about this, and what do you think Russell Crowe is going to be doing in Thor 4 Love and Thunder? Let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, so our next topic here is a much bigger piece of casting information here. The cast of the Obi-Wan series have been revealed, and it's not just like one guy, or one gal even. The entire cast has been revealed for the show. So we'll take a look at this real quick, and we'll kind of break this down. So here is the full casting announcement. There's some new faces here. We got confirmation that Joel Edgerton and Bonnie, what's her name? Peace, I think that's how it is either way. But Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, they're coming back. Kamal Nanjiani, who I don't think had been announced at all prior. He's here. We had Indira Varma casting. We talked about that a week or two ago. Rupert Friend was new. Sun Kang was new. O'Shea Jackson new. I think Simone Kessel may have already been confirmed before. Can't remember. I think I already knew she was going to be in there. But then Benny Safdie, which is between, I don't know which one's more interesting. Like, I think the most interesting ones here, honestly, is Benny Safdie, Kumail Nanjiani, and O'Shea Jackson. And probably, honestly, Sun Kang, too. I'm really not too familiar with Rupert Friend, so I can't really say if it's interesting to me or not at all, in all honesty. But between those four fellas, I'm just really hyper curious as to what they're going to be doing. Benny Safdie, if you're not familiar with, he directs with his brother, the Safdie brothers. They directed Uncut Gems and Good Time with Robert Pattinson, and then Benny Safdie actually co-starred in Good Time with Robert Pattinson. And he was phenomenal as the character in there. I forget what his name was, but he was phenomenal in that movie. And it's a great movie. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. And then obviously he's a very talented director, him and his brother, because like Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler, that was a fantastic movie. And then Good Time, also a fantastic movie. So this is interesting. I think the only other kind of cool piece of information, I guess, and like Rick and I, we were talking about this beforehand, is like, well, the fact that Joel Edgerton and Bonnie Peace are in here kind of insinuates that we're probably going to be seeing a young Luke Skywalker. Whether, and I don't think young Luke Skywalker is going to do anything, but we'll probably see him from afar. Or maybe Obi-Wan goes and has dinner with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and like we actually get some dialogue between a young Luke Skywalker. Who knows? So, I mean, that's another little tidbit of information you can take any way that you know. And I'm not familiar with Moses Ingram's work either, so I really... Those four, and then obviously, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru coming back are the things that really stand out to me. So what do you guys think about this cast list here?
I think it's pretty stacked, like we were saying. But yeah, I think it's cool. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru coming back. It'll be interesting to see who Indira Varma plays.
Gotta be Satine.
Yeah, I mean, that's
she just looks like Satine.
Yeah, who was the from Clone Wars, the bald lady? She was She's not like a Sith, but
Are you talking about Asajj?
yeah, Asajj Ventress. Yeah,
Asajj Ventress?
I mean, like she could even show up in like a flashback or something because I mean, her and Obi-Wan had some run-ins quite a few times, but
I don't know if they would do Asajj. It'd be cool if they did Asajj.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see like their perspective or their take on it, like in live action.
Well, what's the status of Asajj right now?
She died with this other guy. God, I forget his name. He's got a yellow stripe on his face. But she actually redeemed herself. Like towards the end of her run, her and this guy was a Jedi. They like teamed up and they actually got together, and then I guess they died together or something, but she was redeemed.
Does this happen in Clone Wars? I don't remember this at all.
No, it was yeah, I think it was like towards the end of Clone Wars. I don't know if like that stuff in particular. That was from a book, a canon book.
Okay.
But
yeah, I don't remember that. That's interesting. Well, what? So she died though. This is after all that though.
yeah.
So I don't think.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Well,
Only if it's like a
flashbacks or
flashback.
something.
I'm like hoping on these flashbacks because you could do a lot with that. But
I don't want to see. I'm on the complete opposite camp. I don't want flashbacks. I don't care about flashbacks. I want to see just because Hayden Christensen is in it. Everybody thinks, oh, they gotta be doing like no. He's just gonna be Darth Vader. Like
Yeah,
he's freaking
right.
Darth Vader. Like that's it.
they'll show him with his helmet
Yeah,
off at some point. You'd be
Exactly.
Like,
they
That's
can
Hayden
show him with the
Christensen."
helmet on.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then and I said
So
this
they're going to
before
show
too.
scarred up Anakin.
Yeah, for
that's what I
sure.
was
That's the
thinking.
thing. And I think too, like I said this before, everyone just knowing that it's Hayden Christensen in the suit lends so much more weight to the scene, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you could have anybody in the suit. It doesn't even matter. In a lot of ways, it could be better to not have Hayden in the suit because you could get like a much bigger, imposing looking person wearing the suit. Like the guy who did it in Rogue One. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that guy was a big
Like,
guy.
he looked great. Like he looked great as Vader.
They should have used him though when they showed Anakin's like back of his head or whatever. They should have done it a little bit more, I feel like, and used Hayden Christensen for that because that would have sat well with me.
In Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah,
That would
that was a cool scene.
It was a cool scene. But like now though, I think that's the stuff we're gonna get where like having Hayden there will actually be beneficial. We could see some more back to tank shit, you know, like
Yeah,
we could actually see the boy,
love
see
that.
what he looks like.
Love that back to tank.
Yeah, John, your camera froze, by the way.
I thought he was just sitting really still.
He's sitting very still.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I just want to see what I love Kumail and Johnny, and I'm glad that he's getting like a lot more work now. I'm super. I really want to see him in because he got jacked for one, which is super cool, and but in Eternals, he's literally playing a Bollywood like the Eternal. I can't remember his name, but his character in like human world is his persona is a Bollywood actor, which is like obviously super fitting, and like all
Yeah,
the
that
Bollywood
works.
actors are like super jacked and shit too. Well, like a lot of them are. So
Bollywood
it's just
is
funny.
crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you haven't looked at any like Bollywood stuff,
It's wild.
it's wild shit. Like they deny all physics and reality in so many ways. Like
Have you watched the Corridor Crew videos where they go for like Bollywood
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
And it's like
yeah, if you actually want to watch some like good examples and see some funny like Bollywood stuff and some cool Bollywood stuff, look up Corridor Crew Bollywood and the segments they have on like just kind of breaking down and like
effects,
reacting to like those are some pretty like those are good Bollywood things to look at for sure.
Right.
Like they're good. John, what stands out to you about this cast announcement here? You looking forward to anything here? You got any predictions on who some of these folks are going to be?
No, I don't. Again, we've talked about it before, like not having the back the knowledge of Clone Wars. It's all open. It's all an open book to me. I mean, it's going to probably because there's no way I'm probably going to. Well, maybe I don't know how far away Obi-Wan is from premiering, but I don't know if I'll be able to get through Clone Wars by the time Obi-Wan comes out. If I do, then maybe it'll lend some weight to some of these characters. But I was going to say, like, it might be my first introduction to some of these characters because not having watched Clone Wars. I'm working my way through. I finished the first season. And I'm like halfway through the second. So I was told that seasons 1 through 3 are a little slow, but that it really picks up with season 4. So I'm hoping I can get to that. Lots of filler episodes, it seems like right now in the early seasons. But anyway, that's besides the point. I again, it's a good cast. I the Hayden Christian thing is throwing me for a loop. I understand, like, I don't want it to be flashbacks either because I'm not really sure what that does. We have episodes 1, 2, and 3. Those are the backstory on Obi-Wan and Anakin. I'm not sure what further backstory you need. I'm wondering if Anakin is going to be hunting for Obi-Wan, and I'm wondering, like, it would be kind of cool. Like, I think it might be kind of cool if they do the scarred up Anakin body and like have him walking around not with the whole Vader get up on, but like, I don't know. We don't know how Vader kind of operated day to day besides that one little clip in Empire where he's in that pod with the helmet on. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know day to day, like, did he get up in the morning and like make himself breakfast with his like a modified version of the mask on? Not that I want to see like day to day stuff, but I'd like to. I got to think that they threw Hayden Christensen, they cast him or brought him back so that you get that visual fidelity between the prequels and this series, and so I feel like we gotta see him at some point without the suit on, and I don't know that it's going to be flashbacks, which only leaves one option: is him in heavy makeup, scarred, but also still Hayden Christensen, still Anakin. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm just looking forward to the series. It's a great cast, and Disney continues to bring in actors and actresses for what we're calling a TV series, but essentially is a modified, motion picture in a way.
Yeah, just a kind of like what they're calling like Falcon Winter Soldier, man. You know what I mean? It's just like
I almost feel like these series need some new terminology to discuss these, because they're not really films, but they don't really feel like they're just TV shows either. I know people watch them.
Yeah,
I know
movie series, yeah.
serial. I mean, maybe go back and use the old serials terminology that they used back in the what 30s, 20s, 30s, and 40s for the quick movies or the episodic movies that happened week to week in theaters. So
that's kind of what it is. Like, I think more so with like Falcon and Winter Soldier than WandaVision. Like, WandaVision was very much formatted as a television series.
Yeah,
but I mean, obviously, but it was like Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we're gonna get into a little bit later. Though that feels like a movie, like in many ways. Just like they just stretched out a movie with it. So I don't know. But it's really cool. I'm looking forward to this more than anything. I love Ewan McGregor in the role of Obi-Wan. Like, he was great as Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
Yeah, he literally
somebody on one of the social media sites I look at recently posted something about, do you realize that this might be the last time we see Ewan McGregor play Obi-Wan? And it was like, well, yeah, I mean, that actually is very possible. And it's kind of sad to think about. Like, it's probably, if Disney Plus never happens, we had probably already seen the last of it. So it should just be grateful that we're getting to see him in the role again.
Saying.
But it's also kind of bittersweet that it's true, though, that this might, very well be the last time we get to see him play the role. And
I don't know.
He's so good at it that
I've thought that since freaking 2003, though. So I thought that was the last time I would see him.
I mean, I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah. So I never thought there would be a day to where we would ever see him play the role ever again, which was, I never really thought about it as disappointing, because it just kind of like with what you said, John, with the flashback stuff. It's like, we got that like in the prequels. So so I just, I'm the same way. It's like, I never would have imagined them going back and telling any more stories with the characters. So I'm just happy that obviously he loved playing Obi-Wan, and they had an idea for Obi-Wan and decided to do it more so than anything. Because like, they could have had an idea for Obi-Wan, but like, and then done it with someone else, if they wanted to.
Oh, go ahead.
No, Eric, you good?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say really quickly, like, one thing I think they're gonna do, and they obviously have done this a lot with The Mandalorian, is there's a lot of fan servicing, but I think they do it in the right way. Whether it be like that droid that was Uncle Owen and Luke turned down showing up in The Mandalorian to whatever else, like I think there's going to be a lot of cool little nods to Clone Wars and Rebels and, previous films and all that stuff. And that's what I really like about like the Star Wars series. But
Yeah, for sure.
just little Easter eggs like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't like the term fan service. I know what you're saying. It seems to be the prevalent term that people use, but I almost feel like it's
just tying things together.
Yeah, it's almost it makes it
Fan service
lessens
can
what
be done
what
well,
they're
you know?
doing.
Yeah.
I feel like applying that term to something lessens what it is. Like putting in what people expect or what people want from their heroes or their stories is not so if you put a lightsaber in a Star Wars show, is that fan service? Or is
Yeah,
a
right.
lightsaber a fundamental element of Star Wars? The same goes for like the Force. If you throw the Force in and somebody uses the Force, is that fan service? I mean, I don't know where this term fan service came about and why. I think it became a cheap, easy way for people to just rag on stuff that people like, because it doesn't break the mold or do something that's new and unique that people can call gritty and edgy. Like
It doesn't
I feel
subvert
like
your expectations, so it's fan
yeah,
service.
and like okay, so like
Okay.
do all of our old like fairy tales and stuff, are those all just straight fan service? Like does good triumph in evil? Is that just fan service every time that happens, even though it's a hallmark of literature for millennia? I mean, it's
That's
a
true.
weird term that I bump up against every time I hear it. So not to take us completely off topic there, but I personally don't care if they're filled up with fan service. Like, I mean, I want a Star Wars show. I want those callbacks. I think that it's smart and clever and really ingenious the way that The Mandalorian has weaved in so many other elements of the Star Wars universe into their narrative. So
Yeah.
so and clearly it's popular and it works for people, and you can throw people, you can nobody called Luke. I mean, sure, there were a handful of people that thought maybe Luke could be the one to show up, but nobody actually thought Luke was going to be the one to show up in the season finale of Mandalorian, and it was. And yeah, is that fan service? I guess,
Nah.
but it's also like just an awesome ass story. Like that
Yeah.
was dope to see him.
And that's the thing too with fan service, like the negative connotation behind it is like it's a loose definition, right? Because like
Yeah.
you can equate fan service as anything, but like when it's used in a negative connotation, it's always used as in a way of just like expressing like the movie was bad and all they did was try to like please the audience and that's what made it bad. But it's like, no, that was just a bad movie. It had nothing to do with fan service. Because like you said, like a lot of the stuff, like if there's a lightsaber in Star Wars, that wasn't fan service. Like The Last Jedi, they just told like a bad story. You know, it had nothing to do with like maybe them trying to subvert expectations in Last Jedi directly led to it being a bad movie. Maybe it could have used a little bit of fan service, if you will. Like, you know, I don't know. It's a weird. I agree. It's a weird term because like because like the Luke Skywalker thing, someone could equate it as being fan service, but it's really not. It made sense narratively. Luke Skywalker was a Jedi rebuilding the fucking Jedi Order at the time that this went down, so he would have heard Grogu's call. So I don't know what's fan service about it, or it just made narrative sense. You know what I mean? Like it's like just because it makes sense and it's cool doesn't mean it's fan service. It just means it makes sense and it's cool. Like
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like it's because the end of Endgame, you could say, is riddled with fan service, but like it all made sense and it was all cool.
Well,
like it's
and if
it is weird. It's a weird term.
Yeah, if the good guys beating the bad guys is fan service, then every comic book that's ever been written throughout the history of ever is just fan service because we don't have a world of comic books where all the heroes are dead. Like these characters have endured for decades. and they've endured and they've gone on because they always triumph, and so has that. It's not. I understand the use of the word or the phrase, and it's become kind of commonplace in the vernacular when discussing these things. But like I just said, like every time I hear it, I feel like it feels like it's used in a negative connotation. I don't like that aspect of it. So
Well, it always is. Whenever you hear it, it's always in the way of like, well, it was just fan service. That's how
yeah,
you hear it
it,
every time. It's never like there was some great fan service in that movie. Like it's never used like that. And
No.
I think like a reason it comes up so much is because there is really no definition for it. Because I think a lot of people consider an Easter egg and like a wink and a nod as fan service, but it's like no, it's just a wink and a nod. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
just a way
It's
to
like
like tie things
it's like that
into.
droid being in Mandalorian. Like it's not fan service. Like that's
No.
just like
Like,
that's
hey,
it's
that's
just
that droid.
it's like a cameo. It's like it's like an Easter egg thing. Like with Stan Lee showing up in all the Marvel movies, fan service. No,
yeah,
they're just cameos. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Like it is a really weird thing. It's interesting that you bring it up because like it doesn't make any sense. It
yeah.
really doesn't.
Yeah, it's like a uh, I'm not sure. I don't want to harp on people that do use it, but it's like a cop out for somebody that can't come up with a better way of explaining why they didn't like something. Like
Yeah.
so,
Rick just used it in a good vernacular. He was
yeah,
like he
I
likes that stuff, and he's like he's
exactly.
like that's the good stuff. He wants to see it, and he even said like Easter eggs and stuff. So like it kind of like goes into what my point was. Like a lot of people sit there and just think an Easter egg is like fan servicey, and it's like yeah, like you could call it fan service. You
A
could
lot of
just
people
call
are
it an
just
Easter
really
egg.
negative though. Like I try
Yeah,
not to be that way, and
yeah, true.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
if there's something I don't like, it's just like whatever. I don't like it. I don't want to give it the time of day.
Yeah, you don't have
versus
to make an excuse as to why. Like it was bad just because it was this.
there's some
It's
people
like
that just want to find everything wrong with that kind of stuff.
yeah, they're
But
gonna have a
Definitely.
reason for it because like they have to justify their opinion behind it. Like like
because
they
their
can't
opinion
just
matters.
they can't
Yeah.
just have an opinion. They can't just be like, oh, I just didn't like it. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
like no, there's gotta be a reason for it. Like
Yeah.
it's like no one cares. Really, no one cares.
Yeah.
What kind of diverting going in a different direction here, but what do you guys think the future of Star Wars is? Do you think it's this? Do you think it's the series on or I was gonna say HBO Max on Disney Plus? Or do you think because the series is the multiple series that they have coming out are I think going to continue popping off. Like I don't see the momentum slowing down when you start getting Book of Boba and you get Obi-Wan and you get Ahsoka. Like there is nothing about any of those series that makes me think the momentum from these things is going to slow down. Yet there seems to be no momentum behind the films. There's the Patty Jenkins Rogue One series movie, which I think could be interesting and could be really good. But do you think like this is the future of Star Wars that we're kind of Star Wars has basically transitioned over to a kind
I
of serial.
I think it
Use
is.
that term. Yeah,
I'm just gonna go with what can't remember if it was what's her name, Kathleen Kennedy or Bob Iger who said this, but at one point in time they said that the future of Star Wars is at least for the next couple of years is on Disney Plus. It's in television form.
Yeah.
Like they're not
I'm
looking.
cool with that though. I
Yeah.
mean,
As long as they're pumping out good content,
that's what I'm
I don't
saying.
give a shit where it's
Yeah.
at.
They've done well.
We're
We
getting stuff.
technically get more out of the Disney Plus show than we do a 2-hour movie, as long as it's good. We get at least more of it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
hell, I would take one season of The Mandalorian over all three of the sequel trilogies. So all
yep,
three. So I mean, in the end, like it's just a pick your poison. I want Star Wars to go back to the big screen though, because I want to go watch it on the big screen. Like those are movies that's where I go. Like I want to see that in the theater. Granted, it's been disappointing for the last 10 years going aside from Rogue One. That was good.
yeah.
Like I didn't go see Solo in
And
theaters, but I should
Solo
have.
was
I like
good.
Solo.
I like
Solo was
Solo.
a great
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah.
I love Solo.
yeah.
Solo and Rogue One are better than all the sequel trilogy.
Oh god, yeah.
Like Force Awakens is a good movie though. I stand by that. I think
Force
it's good.
Awakens wasn't bad. Yeah,
It wasn't like, oh, fuck, man. It wasn't like Empire. It was. I go back and forth. I don't know because everybody hates on the prequels so much, but like
Revenge of the Sith was great.
I like the prequels, man. I've always liked the prequels. Probably because I was a kid when it came out. So
Yeah.
like that's the
You
Star
get to
Wars
see
that
it
I got to
live.
grow up with. I mean, I grew up with the original trilogy too, but that wasn't during like I didn't get to go see that. You know what I mean? Like in the theater. It was already a pre-existing thing, and then the prequels came out, and it was a big old deal. And Jar Jar sucks, and the movies kind of suck in a lot of ways, but it's still intrinsically Star Wars, whereas these other movies were not intrinsically Star Wars. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why
Yeah.
I was saying before, like maybe the sequel trilogy could have used a little fan service because it didn't feel like Star Wars at all.
It really did.
Like it's like they were trying to subvert expectations and shit, and it's like, well, it really just ended up not feeling like Star Wars. It's just like it just wasn't really true to form. You
Yeah.
know, like you don't have to do everything that's expected. Like not everyone expected Darth Vader to be Luke's father, but he was. Like this
He
is what
was.
it is. He's
I can't imagine there would be such a large in today's age of social media and the desire to be counter or be negative on something that so many people there's a segment of the population that just wants to be negative about things that a lot of people like. And there would if that reveal had happened in today's age, if Empire had come out, in today's age of social media, there would be entire groups dedicated to how stupid it is that Vader is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's just stupid. Of course, the villain be the hero's dad or whatever. Like it would be bash when for a lot of people in my generation, my age, and younger people, up until I would say the turn of the century, like that was cool. That was awesome. Like
Oh,
it's
it
not,
is cool. Like it is
yeah.
cool. Like it is awesome. It wasn't like it was just because it was Zen. Like no, that's cool. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it is 100% cool. And the sad thing is too, something like that would even be hard to do in today's age. Like I'm constantly in awe when they are able to keep anything a secret. Like Grogu, for instance.
Yeah.
The fact that they
Yeah,
were able to keep that
definitely.
a secret is like it's crazy. Like because I mean it's different when it's like a CG character that can be kept secret because there's only the CG people and the freaking Jon Favreau would know about it, but they had a little puppet on set. Everyone had pictures with that thing. Like it could have leaked at any time, man.
Yeah.
Like
Really.
and it didn't. Like
Them
I don't-
damn non-disclosure agreements.
yeah, I don't know. In the end, I do think I don't know what I'm not even confident this Rogue Squadron movie is even going to get made. In all honesty.
Yeah, we'll
Like
see
who
about
knows?
that.
I mean, I'm sure they'll want to move forward with Patty Jenkins and all that stuff, but like, I don't know. It just depends. It just seems like one of those things that like I know they made a big announcement over it, but I could also see like that and like, I mean, like maybe a couple other things too that like maybe just won't like because I know they're going full steam ahead with Disney Plus, like on all aspects. They got like 8 shows in Star Wars world coming out, dude. So they're definitely they're sticking to those comments of it being like the future of Star Wars for the next couple of years. The real question is, are they going to continue the saga in any way, shape, or form? Or are they done with the saga?
I think they're done with it.
And if they do continue the saga, is it going to be completely detached? Are they going to do what they should have done to begin with and tell like a disconnected story, like set in that time period? You know what I mean? Because like that's really the thing. Like, because I mean, in the end, in my opinion, it was a huge mistake, and I think John, you said this before too. It was a huge mistake, in my opinion, to bring back Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and they weren't even on screen together. They had nothing to do
Never
with each
shared a
other.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't advance the plot in any way, shape, or form. They literally they did nothing. There was no point for them to even be in those movies.
Right.
Like, in the end,
Yeah.
like
Other than they're there.
yeah, it's like they're there. Like, look, it's in the same. It's the same movies. Like ooh, like it's like they didn't do anything, and it's just like none of it made sense, man. Like that's the thing that always bothered me too. It's like, well, what the hell? How the hell did Leia and Luke and Han? How did they fail the Republic so badly that just 30 years later, a new empire's back? It makes
Right.
absolutely no sense. It's just like it literally is a just because thing. Like we just wanted to tell a story. Like There it is. Like, I don't know. It was lazy, in all honesty. It was kind of lazy. Kylo Ren was a cool
Well,
character.
I also felt like they had to tear down the old heroes to raise up the new heroes. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Rey and Finn and Poe and Kylo are so much better than the ones you grew up with because they're able to do what they weren't able to do. And it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Just stop, Disney. Just stop, please. Like,
That's the worst.
but
Yeah, that's
they
exactly
flow
it
me,
though
dude.
too. That's exactly it, and that's where a lot of shows, like even like the Superman on Supergirl is a great example of that too. It's like the only way they can make Supergirl look good was to make Superman look bad, and it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that's not how you tell a story. Like they can both be good. Luke can be a Luke Skywalker, and Rey can be Ray Palpatine or Ray Skywalker, whatever the hell she wants to call herself, or Ray Nobody. It doesn't matter. Like you don't have to bring another character down to elevate another character. It's lazy for one, and it's disingenuous to the character and the story overall because it just in the end doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like
Yeah.
I've said before, the scene and like the fact that Luke Skywalker would go out of his way, lay his lightsaber down, or put his life on the line for Darth Vader, his father. Darth Vader, the biggest fucking bad guy in the world, in the galaxy. He's like, nah,
Murdered
there's
a
good in
school
him.
full of children,
Yeah.
child Jedi.
Yeah, like he knew
Right.
that there was good in him, and he was willing to put his life on the line right there. But then in 30 years later, essentially, he wants to kill his nephew in his sleep.
Right.
Like
Because he thinks he may have some sort of inkling that he's going to go to the dark
might be a
side.
bad
Senses
guy.
some part
Like
of the dark side in him. Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's completely it's not subverting expectations in any way. It's like it's just not true to the story. It's directly contradictory to everything that came before. It makes
Right.
no sense.
Well,
Either
and
way.
I've always said too, like that same, like just again with Luke, like Luke was willing in Empire to give up everything. Like Yoda flat out tells him, if you leave now and go, he has the vision about his friends in Cloud City,
Mhm.
and he says, if you leave now, you will never be a Jedi. He Yoda straight up tells him, like, this is it. You let them, you leave them. There are bigger things here at stake. You need to stay here and complete your training. And Luke says, I can't. They're my friends. I can't abandon them. And he gets in his X-Wing and he leaves. The only thing he ever kind of wanted out of his life was to have a higher purpose. But he found this family and these friends, and they meant more to him. He was willing to throw that all away to go help in whatever way he could. And then we get to the sequel trilogy, and he's given up on everybody. He's
everything.
no, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Things went bad. No, you're right. I can't help people. Oh wait, Han's kid, it might be killed by his son. Like, okay, well, whatever. I'm hiding. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's just and that's the thing. And I feel like they wanted it was partly they're trying to make them look bad to make the other people look good.
Yep.
And they're trying to
Definitely.
subvert expectations when it's like you're telling a contradictory story is all you're doing. Like you want to make an Elseworld story, go for it, but don't try to tell me like that's a continuation of a story because it's not. Like,
Yeah.
not that I could write anything better by any means. I've seen what's came before it. There were 6 other movies that came before it. This didn't really follow what those movies were telling me. Like,
Yeah.
It's funny we're talking about this, or that it got brought up tonight, because just this morning I watched a thing. There's a YouTuber out there, Star Wars Theory, I think is the name of the channel or something, and
makes
he
good
did a
stuff.
video just yesterday or the day before. Yeah, he does some interesting ones, but about George Lucas. I had read some of this online. It was in news articles a few weeks back, maybe a month or so back, where the Star Wars archive books have come out, and there have been direct interviews with Lucas about what his plans were for the sequels and everything, and how he had planned for. He said, like, the first one was supposed to focus on the father, the second trilogy focused on the son, and the third trilogy focused on the sister and the grandchildren, and how much of a role Leia was supposed to play in this new trilogy. And then, of course, Disney got their hands on it and abandoned all his plans. But they just, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, they wasted the fact that we still had Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher around and available to do these films. And unfortunately, sadly, we don't have carry anymore, and who knows how long we'll have the other two. And Disney just I can't believe that nobody at Disney had the respect and the admiration for these films to treat them a little better than they did.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
I
Well, and
would
then they
agree.
had no plan for it too. Like on just like a most basic level, they didn't even have a plan for this stuff. They had JJ come in and write The Force Awakens, then Rian Johnson was able to go and just do whatever the hell he wanted. And
Yeah.
then Colin Trevorrow was gonna come in and just do whatever the hell he wanted. Like, no, you need to have this is a trilogy of films. You need to know you need A, B, and C. You need to know what the hell's
Yeah,
gonna happen. You don't just wing this shit. Look at what
yeah,
that did for DC for hell's that's not even as connected as these are. These are direct sequels to themselves. Like, you gotta have some idea what the hell's gonna happen. You're telling an overall story here. Like, it works for some things, just shooting off the hip, but not all the time, man. Like, not for stuff like this. Like,
yeah.
either way. No, we got a little off
That
topic
was
there. You know what?
really long.
In the end, Obi-Wan looks great, everybody. I'm very excited. That's what this started as was Obi-Wan, and then it got real sad for a little bit as we started being grown men whining about Star Wars and the yesteryear pretty much. But either way, guys, Obi-Wan cast is out again. Here it is. Let us know what you think about this down in the comment section below. I've already said the ones I'm most interested in. Do you think we're going to see a little young Luke there? I think a little scene with young Luke, you know, like nice Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan comes in to visit, you know, Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, they have dinner. We have a nice conversation. I think a scene like that might happen. Let me know what you think down in the I was going to say down in the conversation below. Down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So in the interest of saving a little bit of time here, we had a couple things come out. Some news drop that's a little bit unrelated in some ways, but they're kind of around the same ballpark. We have a couple of movies that got pushed back, and for different reasons here. But one of them being the new, I'm going to say highly anticipated because I'm highly anticipating it, but the Mortal Kombat movie that's going to be debuting on HBO Max and in I think it's going to theaters too, if I'm not mistaken. That got pushed back an extra week. I think it was about a week. And then Venom 2, unfortunately, was also pushed back. Now this one, it makes sense for unfortunately for Venom 2, and I mean the studios probably worked this out like in advance, but this had to move because Fast 9, Fast and Furious fame, it ended up moving on the same release date as Venom. So like obviously Venom wasn't going to try to compete with Fast and the Furious. It wasn't going to happen. This one isn't very surprising. Now, the Mortal Kombat one, I think there's a little bit more to it. And here's the thing. And this is kind of, I don't know, I guess you could say it's tinfoil hatty, but it's really not because it makes too much logical sense here. It was originally scheduled to come out on April 16th. Now, with that, the Snyder Cut came out on March 18th. So, if you would have signed up on March 18th to watch the Snyder Cut, you would have gotten in 1 month's time your 1 month subscription. You could have signed up for $15 and canceled HBO Max, and you would have gotten the Snyder Cut, Godzilla vs. Kong, and Mortal Kombat in one 15-month sub period. Or $15 sub period, rather. 1 month, $15 for all essentially like 3 blockbuster films. So the tinfoil hat theory out there is that they simply moved it a week to force a second month subscription, which good on you because you were kind of stupid for having it all in one small 1 month window anyway. At that point, in my opinion, like it would be insane for them to throw away millions of dollars and not force a second month sub for something like that. Like it's honestly, I said this before when they first announced that they were going to be releasing all of their movies on HBO Max. They could do this. They could have them segmented out. So 1 month you get this, and then the next month you get this, and then the next month you get this. So then you pretty much lock you into a, well, I can't unsubscribe kind of mindset because if I do, I won't be able to watch Mortal Kombat, and then I won't be able to watch this, and I won't be able to watch that. So it makes perfect sense, and like good on them for doing it. Anybody who's like thinks this was like scummy or anything like that is kind of like get out of here with that stuff. They're throwing away hundreds of millions of dollars, which they already have had to throw away hundreds of million dollars because they can't put these things in theaters and get as much of a turnout as they can at this point in time. So, I mean, you got to think. Snyder Cut cost like around 100 million for them to get finished. Godzilla vs Kong had like 150 $200 million budget, and then Mortal Kombat had like 80 was like 50 to 100. I can't remember how much they put into that one. But either way, you're looking at like around 500 million in just production, and then that's not even counting any sort of marketing they're doing. So, I mean, they've spent upwards of $500 million on these 3 movies. Perfectly within their rights to want to kind of get some return on that. So it's really no surprise to me. And then obviously, like I said, with Venom 2, I had to move. So, and it's where's it coming out now? It was originally supposed to come out in October 2020. Like Jesus, which is crazy to think that we live in a world where we should have already seen Venom at this point, and we have not. Jesus, so did they even put on the new release date for this? Or am I just overlooking it here? Or are they just delaying it? Did either of you guys know? This article doesn't even actually seem to say what the date is.
The film arrives in theaters September.
Yeah, okay, 24th. There we go. Because I saw it said September something up here.
That is a hot minute away.
September 17th. But either way, because that was the before date. Now it's coming in September 24th. It is a little ways away. But that would mean it's being almost an entire year the release pushed back at that point. It was supposed to come out.
Black Widow's had more than that, so like I mean,
well, no, because it was supposed to come out in July last year, or was it May last year?
No, it was May. It had the Avengers date. It was May 4th or May. It had the Avengers date from the previous year. That was their because they've always released their movies the very beginning of May, and then with Infinity War they pushed it back to like the last weekend in April to get all of May in there. But yeah, Black Widow had that. Black Widow's gone more than a year. I'm trying to think, is there something else that I think went more than a year on delay? So
man, I think Fast and Furious would have almost at this point too.
I think I'm most hyped for Venom. That's gonna be so good. I feel like.
Yeah, I
know. I know footage for it though.
Rob, I know you think that it was smart to move away from Fast and Furious, but my God, Fast and Furious is it's what number 9 in the series. Like,
yeah, but they make over $1 billion every time.
But didn't Venom come out
worse
huge
every time too,
with its last? Yeah, I know. It
made 800 million
last time. And the Rock Jason Statham Fast and Furious spinoff movie didn't make a ton of money. Like it did decent at the box office, but it didn't. I think
it almost made $1 billion. It made over 900 million.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't know that. I don't know that there's a world in which those two movies can't be on the same screen at the same time.
Well, they directly cannibalize each other's audience. It's the same demographic. Like you'd be a fool to release this. It's like releasing Justice League during an
I know,
Avengers
but I'm
movie.
not sure why Sony blinked. I'm not sure. Like,
well, that's the thing. They would have worked this out, like behind the scenes, because you got to think, like they wouldn't have just like randomly done. I mean, they could have. Like Paramount could have just been like, or Universal rather, could have just took the date. But I mean, Universal knew that Venom 2 was coming out on that day, and they still chose that date. So, like, in my mind's eye, there was probably some discussion about it between the two.
Sure.
And then Sony decided that they would move, would be my guess. Either way,
I'm not sure how that worked, but yeah,
if I was a producer on Venom, I'm not putting my movie out against Fast and Furious.
I'll be interested to see what the box office numbers are for those movies. Like what when they're all said and done. Because I thought Venom had a strong. Like I thought there was some hype for this Venom movie, and beyond just seeing more fast cars go fast and do outrageous stuff. Like I don't hear a lot of chatter or excitement about the Fast and Furious movie. And I know it does $1 billion, and I know all the numbers on it. I feel like that's
bad.
just I
hate to say that, but
they're actually like fun movies to watch. Though.
They are,
like,
but it's just
the first ones were bad. Ever since Fast 5, like they've been good.
I'm just not a big fan of the whole like heist thing. Like it's just. And I
Yeah,
don't know
but
why.
they're
I'm going
good.
to say this, and I'm going to probably get some heat for this. I don't like The Rock.
How do you not like The Rock? Everybody likes The Rock.
He's the same character in every movie.
Well, and The
Yeah,
Rock's
but
not
that's
even
the
in
point.
this, is he?
No, he's not in Fast 9.
Oh, no. Because
So
he was like,
you're
it was
hating
Hobbs
on
and Shaw.
somebody for no reason right now. You're hating on the highest paid actor in Hollywood for one, and you're hating on Black Adam for two. Like, and he's like the nicest dude in the fucking world.
Is
Like,
he though?
literally, yeah, he literally is.
Yeah, he's a really
He is like one of the most incredibly
genuine.
generous motherfuckers on the planet.
I liked him better
dude.
when he was in the WWE.
Oh, no way. Like, The Rock's
The
great.
Rock says.
Yeah, you can't quote him after you say you don't like him. That's not how it works.
Maybe that was a little harsh. Maybe it's not I don't like him. I don't prefer his movies.
Well, if you don't like his movies, that's fine. But The Rock is great. Like, I don't care what you say, and you can not like him all you want. I'm gonna continue loving The Rock. I love The Rock. I won't be surprised if you get some heat for that because he's so well liked because he's a nice guy outside of his acting, just because of how nice of a guy he is.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. But in the end, I don't know. I just know if I was a studio head, and I know, like, yeah, the fact of the matter is, neither of the movies would do as good as they would without both of them sharing that date. Is the thing.
True.
Like, you know what I mean?
Sure. I guess I'm surprised that Sony was the ones to blink. Like, I would have thought Sony would have been like, no, we're here. And you know what? If you want to cannibalize your sales, we'll go ahead and, we're keeping this date. Like, you're the ones that are choosing to move to and I'm not sure why Fast and Furious moved to that date. Like, the I don't know, the rationale for picking movie dates, it used to make sense to me. It used to be you had, kind of from Memorial Day until the end of July. Those were the prime dates. You had about 2.5 months there of prime dates when school was out and kids and families went to movie theaters during the summer. You got your big budget movies in that time period. But anymore, I mean, they drop, the Star Wars movies dropped in December. The last Venom movie came out in the fall. Fast and Furious is coming out this fall. Like, there doesn't seem to be any more rhyme or reason. BVS came out in like March. Like, there doesn't seem to be those strong like rationale for why. So why in the world Fast and Furious moved to the 24th, a date that was already, or the 18th, whatever it was, a date that was already occupied, is kind of perplexing to me. And then also the fact that Sony would say, oh, you know what, you moved there, okay, we're moving our movie.
Yeah. That's the thing. The old days of like releasing the like it used to be like January was always where you dump your shitty movies too. That's even gone now. It's honestly, what it really speaks to is that there's a lot of good made content nowadays, where like you can't rely on like the summertime as being the only time the blockbusters come out, because you have studios like Marvel, for instance, who put out 4 movies a year. And they would need to spread them out a decent amount just to not cannibalize themselves.
Yeah.
And then, Disney owns Marvel, so if Disney has their own properties coming out, like, or one of their subsidiaries, they have to keep spreading like things out so they don't cannibalize themselves. And it just kind of keeps going on. Like, it's just gotten to a point where like there's so much content being made, kind of like television anymore, where you don't even really have a choice in the matter anymore. Like, there's really like, you can't just dump stuff in January that's going to be bad, because freaking Black Panther came out in February.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Split came out in I think Split and the other one, the whatever, Glass, I think both those came out in January. Glass wasn't as good as Split, but either way, it's like
good.
Split was great. Like, and it's like, this thing is like you don't have those anymore because it's just too much content. I think that's like the real logistical problem with it is just like it's the amount of content anymore. Because then you look at other like big blockbuster things like outside of superhero stuff. So if DC's wanting to put out, what they say, they want to put out like 5 movies a year now, like 3 in theaters, 2 on HBO Max or something along those lines. So if you got, Star Wars was a thing before. And then you had your Marvel stuff, then your DC stuff, then you have your things like Fast and the Furious and Mission Impossible, and like there's a number of franchises out there that are pretty consistent with the movie, like Jurassic Park even. All these things are billion-dollar, potential movies, if not they legitimately make billions of dollars every time they come out. This is just like 4, 5 movies I just said. That's 5 months of the year. You gotta spread them out by like 2 months alone just to get it done. You're already gonna be eating in on each other. Like, it's just too much shit. There's just too much stuff out there.
Right.
And then you got the smaller ones that come in, like the ones that didn't make a lot of money, like when they were making the Star Trek movies. They were the big blockbuster movies. They weren't making as much as everything else, but they were trying to, and it was the same demographic, so they can't come out at the same time. It's a big thing. It's honestly a big thing. I was trying to pull up the worldwide box office numbers for Fast and Furious, but it's only showing me domestic numbers, so it's not really what I was looking for. I don't know why I can't find it. Like Box Office Mojo just won't show me the worldwide numbers.
Box Office Mojo, by the way, is terrible ever since IMDb got their hands on it.
I know, ever since they redid the site, it's not as convenient at all.
Well, and they took away so much information. They put it all behind the paywall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which might be what this is. They might not be showing me the worldwide gross because I'm not in the. I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
It might just be what it is. Either way. But yeah, they already have even up to Fast 10 plans, so they keep rolling, man.
Right.
They keep rolling.
Fast and Furious 46.
Yeah, and we'll see. But yeah, either way, I'm disappointed for Mortal Kombat, but it's only a week back, so it's not that big of a deal. That's not too bad, and I'm glad they did that because they need to get that money out of it. I am disappointed for Venom, though.
Sorry, Hobbs and Shaw made $759 million worldwide. I'm trying to find the last one, the last Fast and Furious that came out, but I can't find the number for it.
It's Fate of the Furious.
Fate.
F8 of
Fate of the Furious.
Of the Furious.
I don't know
why.
2018. I literally deleted that and retyped it out the same way. It made $1.239 billion.
Okay.
And that was literally the previous movie to the one that just, Fast 9 that's coming out now. So, like, Venom only made around 800 million. So.
Yeah.
For sure. But, this studio heads, like, they do work together with their release dates with a lot of this stuff, too. Like, so I'm sure it wasn't, like, I'm sure they were, like, in cahoots with this. Like, and even if they weren't, it wouldn't really matter. Sony made the right move moving Venom, like, in all honesty. Like, it is what it is. Like, Fast Furious is going to be, even if in the end somehow Venom makes more money, like, neither of them would have made as much if they released at the same time. It just is what it is in the end. But either way, question is, guys, what do you think about this? Which one upsets you the most? Like, now we're looking at Venom being pushed back almost an entire year. As John said, Black Widow is going to be pushed back for over a year now at this point because it's coming out in July. It's supposed to come out in like May of 2020. Let's get there. And that's not even to mention Morbius. Morbius is in the same way. We're in a world now where we should have seen both Venom 2 and Morbius right now. We haven't seen either of them. So, and then Mortal Kombat gets pushed back a week. I think that was a good idea. So, whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, so our next topic here is a pretty surprising move in a lot of ways you could consider. Netflix, previously, I forget what year it was, a couple years ago, I think it was last year, maybe a year before, it's just the COVID times, it's just hard to even keep track anymore. I want to say this is 2019. Rian Johnson made a movie called Knives Out. It was very critically well received. It was a very good movie. Chris Evans was in it, amongst other people, and it's just the first thing that pops in my head right now. But they were planning on making sequels for it, and it looks like Netflix has gone out of their way and actually spent $450 million to buy Knives Out 2 and 3 from, well, I guess technically they're buying the rights for it. So these movies are now going to be straight to Netflix, but they spent $450 million on these movies, which is crazy. Like, in a lot of ways. Like, the first one only made $311 million. Now, granted, it went on to be like nominated for Oscars, and I think it may have won an Oscar. I can't remember. Details are sparse right now. I know it was nominated for best screenplay, and then what else? Maybe they didn't. I think they were nominated. No, ensembles and like something else. That's in the Golden Globes, or not the Globes. I think this is the Globes. Either way, who cares? They were there. It was up for. It was a rewards worthy movie, and it was a good movie. So it was no surprise that it was sought after. But spending $450 million on these two movies, I think is kind of questionable in a lot of ways. In all honesty, because one, they weren't very high gross. It wasn't like a high grossing movie, and a lot of times we've seen it a million times. Rick and John, tell me if you haven't seen this before. The sequel comes out, and the movie sucks.
Oh yeah.
Like, not that I think this is going to be the case with this by any means, but it happens quite often.
Look at The Last Jedi. That was directed by Rian Johnson.
Well, yeah, but so was Knives Out, and it was like really fucking
Yeah,
good. So that's
yeah.
irrelevant.
I mean, he
but,
butchered Star Wars, but yeah.
yeah. He
but he's not a
definitely-
bad director.
No, he did Looper and he did Knives Out, and he did something else too that was pretty good. But
Looks like a nice guy.
yeah, I mean, he can tell a good story, just not in Star Wars world.
No.
But no,
It's a lot of money though.
yeah, Star Wars aside, like my thing is just like $450 million to get these two movies, and when you like realistically don't know what the outcome's gonna be, I think. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a questionable choice. Like
Yeah.
and I imagine they're just doing the thing that they're hoping, like Marty Scorsese's The Irishman did, and then Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver's movie, Marriage Story. I'm assuming they're gonna they're hoping for the same quality of the first one, to where it's gonna be like an awards winning or awards contending movie, so they can get the rights to it, do a short theatrical run, just like they did for Marriage Story and The Irishman, so that it can then be up for the awards season kind of thing. I'm thinking they mainly wanted to do this just for the clout. You know what I mean? They wanted to have an awards worthy movie be a Netflix original again, and this locks them into having hopefully two of them in their book. So I don't know, John, what do you think about this?
I don't know. If you're right, 450 million is a lot, but Netflix is really in one of those weird situations. They spend money like they have plenty of it, which it seems like they do. I mean, their access to funds seems to be unlimited at this point. One of the things that I don't know is like what kind of numbers I'm guessing that they have the first Knives Out available on their service, and maybe it does really well for them. Maybe they find that they have viewers, it gets watched by 100,000 people every month, like consistently. Like there's constantly people finding it and watching it all the way through. And so that this is not necessarily an investment in terms of like, hey, we're gonna make a bunch of money or we're gonna get, but this is more of a retention thing. They're going to be constantly fighting forevermore against losing access to some of their content as more and more streamers come on. They have to find a way to supplement all the content they're losing to companies that they used to just purchase stuff from. So maybe this is just them kind of shoring up that part of their business and helping with their retention of customers, to give them additional films that they already know, that their customers know. Hey, we like Knives Out. Knives Out was a good movie. Yeah, I'll definitely keep Netflix if they got more stuff like Knives Out coming. I don't know. That's my guess as to what this move was all about. So
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously we can't speak to how many views like the original got, or if I think it was available on Netflix. It may still be. I mean, at this point, it probably is. They just bought the rights to the other two, but they could have been licensed to go elsewhere. But I think that's actually a big component of it too. Like during this, the climate of the streaming wars, with Warner's having their own thing and Disney Plus and all that stuff, and then Netflix being a company who was built upon licensing products from all these, distributors, and now the distributors have their own streaming service. They're going to stop licensing their stuff out to Netflix. So that's a really good point. It is just another thing that they're going to have exclusive You know, 'cause that's the thing Netflix needs right now is they need their own original stuff so that
Yeah.
they're not gonna have the option of licensing out all this other stuff anymore. So
The
Right.
it's a good point.
the other component to keep in mind too is while the first Knives Out only, what'd you say, made $350 million, it may have only made $350 million, but it was also probably made for around like 30 million, maybe $50 million.
Oh, yeah, it was
So the
cheap.
return on investment for that film was astronomical. And so when you're getting, if they can invest, a cool 30 to $50 million to produce these movies, or to make these movies, and have even a limited theatrical run, even knowing that they're going to be coming to Netflix, or even day and date with Netflix, if they can make 100 million back off of these movies, then right there you're cutting, you're covering your production costs, your production costs for the films, and then you're also already, just from box office alone, cutting into the amount you paid to have the rights to the film. So, overall, when at the end of the day, is in terms of just straight monetary numbers, they may get closer to break even than we know. And then you add in retention and stuff like that, maybe it ends up being profitable for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that they made the first one on a $40 million budget, and they made 311. So it definitely
Yeah.
made a lot of money. But now Netflix has already put, prior to the production budget of whatever these 2 movies are gonna cost, which I'm sure, as most movies do when the sequel comes, the production budget goes up. But they're already 450 in the hole, so let's say they go between 50 and 100 for per movie, they're gonna be looking at spending $650 million on the rights and production of both these movies, and the first one only made 3. So, I mean, and then they're gonna have to market the movie, so they could be looking at closer to being, like, after marketing for these movies, even though Netflix doesn't market anything, because I don't know why they don't market any of their movies, really. Um, so I don't know, but it could get pretty expensive in the end. It could be another,
Yeah.
like, 300-400 million on top of the 450 that they've put into it. It could be end up spending 750, 800 between the rights and the
That would
production
be
and marketing.
that would be a big jump in production budget, though, to go from 40 to 100. Like,
Well, all
I don't
movies
think
do it
that
all
they'll.
the time, though.
No, yeah, but these movies, there's no there's no effects, there's no CGI in these for the most part. Like, I have a feeling they'll probably, I would think the production budget may grow to like 50, but I couldn't see it like tripling to 100. That seems, well, not tripling, but
It
over
would just be
doubling to
doubling it,
100.
yeah. Because it was at 40 the first time. So that's why I said it can go anywhere from 50 to 100. Like, because a lot of times with the sequels, they get a shit ton more money. Because that's like, and if this would have stayed, independent, like whoever had it before, right? They only spent 40 million to make the movie, and they made 311 off it. If Rian Johnson wanted more money, they would have gave it to him because they had a huge ROI on this movie. So if he wanted 100 million to make the sequel, they would have gave him 100 million to make the sequel. You know what I mean? That's normally how it works. If he needed it,
I don't
then he
think they
would
would have given him
whatever.
100. I think that's a big jump.
That
I
is a
could
big
see.
jump.
I agree. I agree that giving him some more makes sense. But if you set your box office number at around, I mean, there has to be significant rationale to jump from 40 to 100, because that's over double your budget. Do you expect to get over double the box office numbers then at that point?
Oh,
Like,
dude, I'm
I
just saying, like, I've seen what like they spend on really shitty movies. Like Hollywood is like
I
bumfuck
understand,
crazy.
like,
Like,
I'm just saying, for this particular case, I think that Netflix probably has a good indication when they agree to pay 450 million
I
for
would
the
hope,
rights,
yeah.
that they know that they've talked with Rian Johnson, they've done their due diligence, and he said, "Look, yeah, we're going to make 2 more. I anticipate them being about $50 million productions, and going from there."
Oh, I imagine that'd be the smart thing to do for sure. Because I mean, you look at people like Blumhouse, where they can make a movie for $8 million and then get a $200 million return on it, and they actually stay consistent with that stuff. Like, they don't, just because they make that money doesn't mean they go and make a $50 million movie next. Like, no, they still make their movies for like 10 million or less. Like, it doesn't, this is what it
Yep.
is. But they're a much smarter, more fiscally smart company. When you get into like your Warner Brothers and your Netflixes, for instance, even who they have the money they can throw around. A lot of times they just do. Like they gave Marty Scorsese like $300 million to make The Irishman. That movie came nowhere fucking near making $300 million. Nobody saw
Right.
that movie, even though it's good. It's
Eh,
just like I didn't think it was like amazing.
no.
Like it wasn't Endgame. Like you know what I mean. Endgame cost $300 million, but Marty Scorsese wants $300 million to make a period piece drama with Leonardo DiCaprio.
What is it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just what people do. Like this is well, it's Marty Scorsese. So whoa, like this is what it is. That's what I'm saying with like Hollywood. You never know what the fuck they're gonna do. They spend money on the stupidest things. Look at how much they pay the actors for fuck's sake.
Oh, I
You
know.
know,
God.
they make absurd amount of money, money that no one needs. These people make, and it's like
It almost just seems fake. It's so much money.
that's
Like,
what I'm saying. Like it's just I wouldn't doubt they're just like here's 100 million, Rian Johnson, just do whatever you want. Like,
yeah.
like it's just because it happens so much. Like
Right.
but it is what it is. I'm excited. See, I liked the Knives Out movie though. I love like murder mystery shit, so it was fun. Like I'm looking forward to it. So I'm all for them being on Netflix because then I can just watch them easier. In all honesty, like I have Netflix, so it is what it is. So moving on though, the question is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a little crazy that Netflix spent so much money on it? I think it's a lot of money to spend on some movies that didn't make a lot, but definitely them getting some more Netflix original catalog clout there with the hopefully if these two are just as good as the first one was, then it's definitely going to be a big benefit for them, at least just to have them as original things that are exclusive to Netflix in the end. So wherever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final two topics here are going to be the Godzilla vs. Kong spoiler discussion and the Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3 spoiler discussion. But we're going to do the Godzilla one first because there is a kind of a little news thing that came out about the director of Godzilla vs. Kong, Adam Wingard here, about a Thundercats movie that he is now going to be working on. So he went on to say that he's going to be working on a Thundercats movie. And the most interesting thing I got from this article here is he said he didn't want to do a live action one. He wants to do like a sort of hybrid CGI thing. And the first thing that came into my mind, because he goes on to say like he doesn't want it to turn out like Cats, like the movie Cats, where it's like we all know what happened with Cats. I mean, it just is what it is. But then I totally get where he's coming from with that. And I know a lot of people out there are kind of like disappointed that it's not going to be a live action thing. This might be sacrilegious for people out there, but I never watched Thundercats. I really just didn't. It wasn't a thing for me. I literally never watched it. It's not that I didn't want to, it just never happened. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just my age. I don't know. Maybe it was before my time. I just don't know. But either way, what I think is interesting though is he wants to do like this hybrid CGI like animation thing, which the first thing that came to my mind was making like a super hyper realistic CGI movie just like they do for like the World of Warcraft cinematics or like the Knights of the Old Republic cinematics, something along those lines, which would be fucking awesome. Because I've said since day one, like they just need to make movies that look like that. They need to do movies with that animation. Because if you've never seen like the cinematic trailers for like World of Warcraft, do yourself a favor and go watch them. The game looks nothing like that. Like the game looks like cartoon polygons for fuck's sake for the most part. But like the cinematics are some of the most hyper real looking amazing visuals you'll ever see. Same with the Knights of the Old Republic stuff. And even the DC Universe Online trailer for the DC Universe Online trailer was made by Tim Miller's production CGI company. I forget the name of it, but that trailer was amazing. Like that's what when he says like hybrid CGI animation thing, like my mind immediately went to like hopefully something like that, which I'm down for anything with that because it's just like hyper. It looks real. It just looks absolutely real. But John, I know you were me and Rick are not very well versed in the Thundercats. So like, where are you at with this? I know you like. You're a fan of the Thundercats. You excited they're making a movie? You disappointed it's not live action, or your mic's muted?
Yeah, sorry about that. No, yeah, I'm definitely excited. I think that this is. I mean, obviously, we've gotten a lot of the '80s cartoons which was kind of the golden age of cartoon animated shows, was I think the 80s, at least. Maybe that's my personal opinion, but we've gotten the Transformers, we've gotten GI Joe, we've gotten Smurfs, we've gotten we've run the gamut of all the different. We never got a Mask movie. We never, and Thundercats is one of the ones. Voltron we never got. So there's still some franchises out there that haven't been tapped, and it's interesting to me that they're going with Thundercats. But yeah, I mean Thundercats had one of the scariest villains of all time, kind of like a He-Man Skeletor, kind of even ratcheted up to be scarier in Mumra. And I doing it the way you said could be really cool. Obviously, when they're doing that hybrid, that animation type route, you can do some effects and some special effects or some images that you might not be able to pull off practically in real life actors and stuff. So you can go even more over the top with it, which could be cool. I don't know that I necessarily don't believe it couldn't be done. With real actors, live action. Just because there was a point in time where nobody thought that you'd be able to do Captain America's outfit on the screen and have it look halfway decent, or Iron Man on the screen and have it look halfway decent. The inventiveness of the people that work on movies nowadays, and just the advanced effects. I understand what happened with Cats, and I get it, but you also, Cats was this weird like play stage that they were trying to replicate on in a movie form. Like the whole idea about Cats was weird. But then you turn around, you look at Avatar, which is, I know they're not cats, but they're almost feline like creatures on Pandora, and that's the biggest movie of all time again now. So I just don't know that I believe that it couldn't be done live action. But we'll see what happens with it. We'll see if it ends up actually getting made. If the numbers for Godzilla versus Kong are any indication, I think it will get made, or at least this director is going to have the clout to get it made. But heck, he may have to do a sequel to Godzilla versus King Kong before he can make that, depending on what his contracts say. But yeah, I'm excited. It was a great series. It only ran for 2 years, but fun cast of characters. It was Lion-O had his special sword that he had, and they fought the evil. It was standard stuff, but the tie-in toys were awesome for it as well. So I'm excited if they find a way to bring it to the screen.
Yeah, it sounded like it sounded like it was like a for sure thing. He just has another project that he's doing first. I forget what it was. But he's doing that and supposedly going to be working on that. But you're right. I mean, if Godzilla versus Kong like keeps popping off like it was, they might want him back for another one of the or another follow up to that. You never know.
Yeah.
But like imagine like even something along the lines of CGI wise, like he was kind of vague and where he says like hybrid CGI animation, but like my mind immediately went to like those like super hyper real looking things. But like even you look at today with what we got now, like Lion King, man, like a freaking Jungle Book, like something like that.
Sure.
Like that's where my mind went to. And I could have been thinking more of along the like cartoon, more animation, like Into the Spider-Verse, even for all I know. Like, oh, we'll just have to wait and find out. But I'm all on board for this is the kind of stuff I like. It was just something I never like as a kid. It was just nothing I ever really watched.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll definitely watch it if it looks cool. Like, and if it has that animation style that I really appreciate, which is that like hyper real looking stuff, like I'm talking about, like I'm totally gonna watch it. So I'm still waiting for them to just go ahead and make Warcraft movie with the freaking same animation team that they used to make some damn trailers.
Right.
Like those, like I don't know why they decided to make the live action Warcraft movie, even though it looked phenomenal for all intents and purposes. Like the orcs looked insanely real, even for its time, like it was crazy. But they got this animation team that makes these amazing trailers. Like just make it, just do it. Like I don't know. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna see what I like. Everything Adam Wingard's been doing here. Aside from that Death Note movie, it wasn't as good as the freaking anime was. That's for sure. That was weird. But either way, I give him props for trying to do an anime movie because not a lot of people do. So give him that. So the question is, guys, though, before we get into our review here, let us know what you think about the announcement of Adam Wingard helming a Thundercats movie down in the comment section below. Do you want to see animation, CG, live action? Are you disappointed that he's thinking about going the CGI route? Let us know in the comment section below. All right, guys, so now we are going to discuss here, spoiler-filled discussion here of Godzilla versus Kong. So you've been warned. We're going to get into some spoilers here. We're going to give a review, our thoughts, tell you what we liked and what we disliked, and all that sorts of fun stuff here. So I will kick things off here. Then I'm gonna say the things that I didn't like about it and the things that I did like about it, and then I'll kick it over to Rik and Jon, and we'll get everyone's thoughts on it and have a quick speak. I know Rik that hasn't been able to watch it all the way through, but he watched a couple scenes
looks cool, yeah,
on stream this past week. So
getting HBO Max tomorrow. So
yeah, so we'll be able to get your input on it a little bit later. You can follow up like a week from now and tell us how you thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I like King of the Monsters, so.
Yeah, that movie sucked. So if you like that,
I mean,
movie,
I liked it because of the action. It's like you said, like the fight sequences, the this, the that.
Well, that's the thing, dude. I'm telling you, man, these kaiju fights were the best kaiju.
Oh
fights.
yeah.
Like,
we were watching part of
so
it
good.
yesterday, and it was like,
Yeah.
damn.
Well, that's the thing. That's a good way for me to start it off, anyway. I guess too. The every time Godzilla and Kong are on screen in this movie, it's amazing. Like it's awesome. The movie's great, in my opinion. Like, the human stuff kind of sucks, like, on both fronts. The story makes absolutely no sense. The plot, the choices that they decided to do with, like, the Godzilla crew and just, like, the Godzilla arc, really. Because, like, the Kong stuff was better, like, human stuff I'm talking right now. So the Team Kong, human-wise, made a little bit more sense, just in general. Then the other stuff, though, the Team Godzilla humans, and then what they did with, like, the Ghidorah head and, like, the psychic, like, they have this makes no sense. They have the skull of Ghidorah, and they're, like, because Ghidorah was telekinetic and had, like, psychic powers, somehow the skull, not like the head that they're keeping alive, like, that would make more sense. This is just a skull. Somehow they're still able to, like, harness or leverage this telekinetic power to do, like, a Pacific Rim style uplink to the pilot for Mechagodzilla, and it just makes no sense. Even in movie science terms, it makes absolutely no sense. It's so dumb. Like, the only reason it was there, the only reason that plot was there and the head for Ghidorah was there at all was, for one, so Godzilla could sense it, which already doesn't really make sense. Like, that's another thing. They go on to say, like, the Titans can just, like, sense each other, and, like, I can kind of maybe give it to them for, like, maybe, Mother Nature kind of thing. Like, the birds can migrate south. I get all that. So maybe the Titans can sense the other Titans, but then how was Godzilla sensing Mechagodzilla? Because that was the whole thing. Every time Mechagodzilla got turned on, that's when Godzilla showed up and started just wrecking shit. But he wasn't really wrecking shit. He was attacking the apex locations where they turned on Mechagodzilla. So they needed a reason to explain that. So my theory is just like, well, that's why they had to use the Ghidorah thing, which is just stupid. Like, it's just stupid. Just take out the whole sensing Titans thing and just that's stupid. Do something else, because it doesn't make any sense. And then using the freaking skull to get telekinetic freaking link up with the pilot is stupid. And the only reason that was there was just so they could kill the pilot and then have Mechagodzilla go on a rampage all by himself, because it was, at that point, it was pretty much Ghost Ghidorah being Mechagodzilla. It just makes no sense. It's just stupid. And I think I said, just make Mechagodzilla, if you want a Mechagodzilla to go rogue, just say that the pilot needed an AI program that they developed at Apex, because they even say that they do AI and shit and, like, cybernetics. So it would make more sense to just say piloting Mechagodzilla was too much for a single pilot to do, so they created an AI program that, would assist the pilot with doing the thing and all that stuff, and just have the AI program go rogue, and then that's why Mechagodzilla goes rogue at the end. You didn't need a stupid freaking. It sounds like I hated the movie, but no, I love the movie. I thought it was great, because when it comes down to it, I don't care about that stuff. They put enough of the monster fighting in there. The monster fights were good enough for me to where, like, I just didn't even think about that stuff when it was happening. I thought about it after the fact, 'cause it was stupid. And then the only other things were, like, At one point in time, the woman, Rebecca Hall's character, said that she spent 10 years studying Kong on Skull Island. But, like, literally, if that was the case, how did she know that he didn't speak sign language? Because they tried to say that Kong hid that stuff, that Kong could communicate with them, but it doesn't make any sense that that would be remotely possible because he was under constant surveillance at all times. He's a giant freaking monkey, and then you have the kid there who, like, just hangs out with him all the time, and in no world would anybody let a small 10-year-old child hang out with a giant gorilla completely unsupervised. Doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. And that's just a stupid nitpicky kind of thing. And then the other main thing I got before I kick it off to everyone else here is like the structural integrity of these buildings is like insane. Like the technology in this world must have advanced just it's science fiction at this point, like the way like just the humans operate, like just like these buildings were able to, like, Kong at one point like kicks off of a building to punch Godzilla, and the building holds his weight and shit. Like in the real world he would have just fell through the building, he's too big. There's another scene where he's on like a aircraft carrier out in the ocean, and he leaps like 300 feet or some shit onto another aircraft carrier, and it just catches him. It didn't break, it didn't topple over, it just caught him. It wouldn't happen. And then Godzilla gets on top of that same aircraft carrier, and it just holds both of them while they're fighting and stuff. It's kind of stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Little things like that stick out. And that's pretty much it. And the only other thing is like Millie Bobby Brown and her like crew, like Team Godzilla, they're like sneaking through all these Apex lab buildings, like where they're testing Mecha Godzilla, and they're just walking down the halls. And these people just don't have cameras anywhere. Like, there's no way they would be able to sneak around and do everything they did. They're just literally walking down the hallways. It was not like they were like going through air ducts or anything. Like, they're just walking through the halls, and like these people don't have cameras. It's just kind of stupid. But everything else about the movie was great in my opinion. So that was it. That was my rundown of it. So John, you being the only other person who's seen the movie, what do you got? What do you got for me? You got a different take?
No, I don't think so. So, I mean, my pros are it was what it should be, which was giant monsters fighting. And not only was it giant monsters fighting, you could actually see the giant monsters fighting and tell what was going on and how things were happening. That was my biggest issue with Godzilla King of the Monsters was every time it looked like you were going to get a cool fight scene between two of the monsters, they were constantly cutting away from the fights to focus on what the human characters were doing on the ground or how they were. In this, there's a sequence after obviously the Kong and Godzilla they fight, and you can see that fight well, and like they start off right away. Even at the first time Kong and Godzilla meet, you've seen this one in the trailers. But Kong delivers a haymaker to Godzilla's face. And like it's just a giant monkey punching a giant dinosaur lizard thing. And it's awesome. It's amazing. It looks spectacular. And that's, you can actually see it happen. It's not done in the dark of night. It's not done, under a bunch of fog. It's not done like they straight up spent the money, which you should do, and made this just an all-out brawl movie, which is very cool. Like they had even some cool fights in the Hollow Earth, which it plays a part in the movie, and so yeah, I was super happy with all that. Very happy with the way it played out. Now, some of the story stuff, my immediately upon seeing it, because Rob had already seen it, I messaged him and said, like, what the heck? There's this whole thing with gravity inversion and these special ships they need to go through this gravity inversion thing. I was like, what the heck was the point of all that? Like, it never comes up again. And we figured out later on, or we talked about it last night on the stream. There's one segment at the end where Kong needs to be resuscitated, and it just so happens that these special ships to get through this special gravity issue have the power to resuscitate Kong. So obviously they needed to establish the ships before you got to that Kong point. But at the time, it was just such a weird inclusion into the movie for me. Like they have some stuff like that that just doesn't seem to really place well. And Rob was talking about the Ghidorah head and how that ties in, and like I honestly, I'm just taking Rob's word for it that that's what happened at the end, because I have no idea who was controlling Mechagodzilla and what the heck was going on with it. Because when you got to that point in the movie, like they had established that the bad evil company had created Mechagodzilla and they were going to use him to fight Godzilla and take Godzilla out because they wanted humans, and specifically them, to be the alpha predators or the alpha creatures of
Apex
the
predators.
world. Apex predator. Thank you. That was their terminology.
Their namesake.
Yeah, so they wanted to be the apex predators, and but you get to the point in the movie where they reveal Mechagodzilla and their whole system for controlling it and running it goes up in smoke all of a sudden. Like their pilot dies, and like so I wasn't sure who was controlling, because I'm not sure how an empty skull maintains the consciousness of a dead, kaiju from a previous movie and stuff. So there were just very weird story choices that were done. Like it felt like they could have simplified the story a lot more. And I don't think at the end of the day people are going to see this movie for a really intricate, well, clearly they're not going for a well thought out plot, but they're even a real intricate plot, like the KISS principle with this. Keep it simple, stupid. Like don't overthink the plots of these things. You have monkey, you have dinosaur, fight. That's it. That's what you need. And
They
that part of
delivered
it they did exceptionally well. Yeah. The other thing was, like, at the very beginning, I told Rob and Rick last night when we got on stream, the movie opens up with Kong in this virtual enclosure that's supposed to replicate or either is on Skull Island in some fashion. And I have no idea how Kong got there. I don't know if they built this structure around him and his habitat on Skull Island, or if they actually like sedated him at some point and took him to this place. I don't remember Skull Island terribly well, so maybe something happened that I'm just not remembering. But it almost felt like when the movie started, I got dropped into the middle of the story and like there was something else I needed to know beforehand. So you get over it pretty quick. I mean, they move along pretty quick and you get to the good stuff. But yeah, overall, it was a good movie. If you can like suspend your belief on or don't question why they're telling you things. If you just go along with what they're telling you, oh sure, of course Kong is on this island. Of course Godzilla knows who Kong is and will come for him. Like, as long as you don't look for rationale and that kind of stuff and just go with it, it works fine. And it's a good flick.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I think it was Skull Island. Like, it started out with, I think it was just Skull Island, because, like I said, that Rebecca Hall's character says that she spent the last 10 years on Skull Island with Kong. So the only thing that was weird about that scene, like what you're talking about, like with the dome thing in the beginning, is it speaks to like what I was saying with the freaking human advancement of technology. Is like how did they even build this dome? Like, that's the thing
Yeah.
that's like, when you come from King of the Monsters, that kind of tech didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. And this movie is pretty much a direct follow-up to King of the Monsters. So, like, now all of a sudden, from King of the Monsters to this, they have these vehicles that can freaking manipulate gravity inversion and like all this. That's the stuff. Like, if you just don't think about that, then the movie's great. That's the thing. And I was able, as I'm watching the movie, I just was making notes of all these things as I'm just like, well, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Then went on with it, and I just forgot about it, because then the pacing of the movie is like really good, because as soon as something stupid like that happens, they cut to like Godzilla fucking fighting something, or you know what I mean? So you're not thinking about it anymore. Like, it's
Yeah.
really good. Like, they really get you right into it. Like, that scene starts out on Skull Island, and then they're off of Skull Island. Like, well, really, it's like they do that, and then Godzilla's fucking attacking somewhere, and then now Kong's off Skull Island, and then they do one stupid thing over here, and then now Godzilla's attacking Kong, and then like it's paced very well to where you get this stupid stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense, but then real quick they're like, "But here's the monsters fighting, so don't think about that." And the fights though, like the CG is incredible in the movies. Like the monsters look great. Like Kong and Godzilla look amazing, and like you were saying, everything's in frame. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not quick cuts. Like they have like Adam Wingard put a couple scenes even where like they mounted a camera to Godzilla or to Kong's arm, so like you actually just like are with Kong as he's like on his arm, like punching Godzilla in the face, kind of thing. There was that one scene in the movie that I showed it on stream where like they literally had Godzilla had Kong on the run from his nuclear breath, and they literally zoom in on Godzilla's face and he smiles and laughs. Like, and it's an overt, like, he full grins like a happy dog and goes like, like, it kind of took me out for a minute. Like, I was just like,
It's
what?
funny you mentioned that because I just saw an article this morning that said that like as Adam Wingard is the director, like
Mm,
he apparently there was one like the company that actually owns Godzilla, that owns the IP, they have one rule and it's that Godzilla should never emote, be it anger, happiness, whatever, that Godzilla is a force of nature and so he should never emote. And that and the director specifically said that they had to get inventive with how they got around that rule, that he said he wanted some emotion or to come out of the character, and so they did little things to try and hint at that stuff. It made me think of that scene that you were talking about right away.
yeah, because there's that scene which is a little bit in your face with it, and like it, like I said, when it happened, it pulled me out briefly. I was just like, "What?" And then later in the film, which this one made more sense and it was fine, like when because this was the other thing too. We were told from the start that there would be a definitive winner, and by golly, there was. Godzilla beat his ass. Like he beat his ass. Like thank God he did, because like I know on paper Kong looks good. You know he's the monkey. He's very agile. He's on his feet and stuff. But nah, dude. I went into this. I said Godzilla better win this fucking fight. Like it's got to be Godzilla. If it ain't Godzilla, why'd you just name him King of the Monsters? Like, like come on.
Yeah.
But like right when that scene, for instance, so when you know he fucking puts his big old foot on his chest and he just like stares at him and gets down in his face and roars and whatever, he gives him like a head nod. You know what I mean? Just like and then walks away. Like that like that didn't take me out of it. Like that made sense. Like that kind of stuff happens in nature where you know, like you know, cats will look at each other and they'll do that shit, you know, like lions, you know, whatever. So that made sense. But the big smile thing, it wasn't bad, it was just funny. But they had a couple scenes like that where, like I mean, Kong obviously being like a primate, he emotes, he talks. I mean, he's literally like, he knows what's up. So, I don't know. It was good that they had Kong, especially be able to be a little bit sentient like that, because you can relate to him a little bit more. You know, like you know what he's going through, and you can read his emotions, and like you know you feel it with Godzilla. And like you said, if they don't want him to emote in any way, so he just does seem like just a giant wandering fucking force of nature.
Yeah, and I'll say this too about the movie. You know, I mean, while it was King Kong versus Godzilla, and they both get plenty of screen time, it felt like a King Kong movie.
Oh yeah, it really
I
does.
mean, you open with Kong. Kong gets the, you know, with an assist from Godzilla. Kong gets the kind of the victory scene at the end, and it closes with Kong too.
Hmm.
So you know, it felt like a King Kong movie with Godzilla kind of. Godzilla will win Best Supporting Actor, Best
Yeah.
Supporting Kaiju, at this year's Academy Awards.
It
But
was kinda like BVS even more in that sense, like, it felt more
sure,
like a Batman movie than I mean, I guess it was Batman versus Superman, so maybe it really
yeah,
was supposed to be a Batman movie, but this was Godzilla versus Kong, and it really did feel like more of a Kong movie, and not in a
yeah,
bad way, like, it was
no,
good, like, all the Kong stuff, I feel like all the Kong stuff, even with the humans, it made more sense and it was better to follow, like, the stuff with Godzilla, man, it really like Team Godzilla, like human Godzilla stuff, that's just it went off the ropes. So, like the Ghidorah head, Millie, like not to mention like Millie Bobby Brown, just like some like high school kids able to sneak around and do all this shit for like it just
Well, and
It's come on, like
we talked about on stream last night too, the other thing, like, even going with, like, I'm fine, I'm willing to go along with your analysis or your interpretation of it that Mechagodzilla was being controlled by Ghidorah, but then the
It
question
was.
becomes is, how does how does Ghidorah know how to use this mechanical robot? Like, he
right.
literally fires missiles out of Mechagodzilla comes equipped with missiles, like, how does Ghidorah know about missiles? And, like, I'm gonna now that I'm in this new Mechagodzilla body, I'm going to use my thrusters and my booster jets and like
Yeah.
wreck shop using those. Like the whole idea is when you start to think like after have fun, watch the movie, have fun, enjoy the fights as they're happening, and try and turn your brain off because once you turn it back on after the movie and start thinking about this stuff, it becomes very confusing.
Yeah, the only way I could try to make any sense of him knowing how to use the body is just like Ghidorah used the Mechagodzilla body is just because this sounds stupid even trying to rationalize it, but they were using him to do the co-piloty thing, so he was already like his consciousness was like interweaved with the construction of the body, so he kind of became one in the body, and it's just like kind of like a natural response, like just like if you go to punch somebody, you don't have to think, okay, I need to pick my shoulder up this many degrees and then cock my arm and do, you just do it, it's just nature, right? So that's the only way I can make any rational explanation at this point. It's just like, well, when he goes into that body, it's all happening on reflex, like it's just there. But again, you go back to the part where how does the fucking skull still have conscious? It's like that's what I said at the beginning. It's like if it was like they harvested the head of Ghidorah and are keeping it alive, that's a whole other fucking thing. I could be on board with like that existing and like you can maintain that psychokinetic uplink and whatever. But this was just a skull. Like, it's just a skull. Like I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but when you go find a skull, you ain't getting much out of it. It's carbon at that point. That's it. There's no psychic energy laying with it. But in the end, I really love the movie. Like I thought it was great because like all that stuff is like nowhere near as good as like all the monster fights. Is the best monster fights. Like I think I said that it makes like Pacific Rim, which was probably the best monster kaiju fights that we've had up until this movie. It makes that movie look like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like it's literally like it's that good. That's not a knock on Pacific Rim. I love the first Pacific Rim. I think it's a great movie, but I don't like the pilot Jaeger thing though. I think that's just as stupid as the Ghidorah head thing. Just make somebody drive the fucking robot. You don't need to make things convoluted. And it's like again with the Jaeger pilot thing, I think they only had that thing in there as a plot device for Charlie Day's character to go inside of the kaiju. That was the only reason they needed that stupid thing. It's just it's like find another way to do that. Don't do like because now you're pigeon toed into this is a different movie. Who cares? We gotta move on to Falcon and Winter Soldier. You got anything else you wanted to add?
No, I mean that was I think we covered everything.
Cool. Rick, you got anything you want to add?
I look forward to watching. I like Godzilla. I have a Godzilla t-shirt too, John. Yeah, I like Godzilla, so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you'll be happy to know that Godzilla wins.
Yeah.
the
Well,
fight.
that was pretty obvious in watching those clips.
Yeah, you watch some of it, so you know what to expect. Now you've heard
Yeah.
all this. See, if anything, you have the benefit now of knowing that you need to not pay any attention to what's going on
No, yeah,
and
just pay
just watch
attention.
the fight.
I got a short attention span anyways. So.
Yeah, what is what it is. Question is, guys, have you seen Godzilla versus Kong, and what do you think? Were you happy with the outcome? Did you think? And honestly, too, we didn't talk too much about it, but I'll just say real quickly, like even the Mecha Godzilla stuff was actually pretty good as far as the fighting goes and how he looked. I thought they did some cool stuff with Mecha Godzilla, like when he had thrusters and stuff. So he was like Godzilla, but he was way faster and he was way more agile because he could make very quick turns and calculations because these thrusters activated on his back, so he was able to like. Oh, it was really cool. Like what they did with him was really cool. And that was the only other thing I'll add real quick too is a lot of the things that they did with the fights were like super practical and thought out. Like there was a scene, for instance, like multiple times where like Kong would try to like grab Godzilla's mouth and shit, but then Godzilla, as soon as that would start to happen, he'd just fucking start nuclear breathing, so he couldn't do it. So it was just like little things like that they threw in there that made it like feel real. like as weird as that sounds. So it was really cool. I liked all those little details and stuff I thought were really good. So if you've seen it, let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, so our final topic here today is going to be our quick thoughts and review here and discussion of Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3. And in this one, so this is spoilers obviously, so we're going to speed through a little bit because this one's been going a little bit long. It's getting a little bit late. And the thing is, too, and I was saying this off camera a little bit ago, like if you go back and watch, or if you've been watching since we've done like the WandaVision reviews and all that sort of stuff, like WandaVision were like 25 minutes long, we'll say. And we would have a spoiler discussion that would last an hour or more, about a 25-minute episode. But with Falcon and Winter Soldier, the show is just much more straight to the point. There's not really any sort of like hypothesis that need to be formed. Like there's not like weird theories that are being made. Like the show is just not really formatted in that way. So like I don't feel like it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like an interesting thing is like we'll get like this was the longest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier yet. But it all just kind of like it plays out. You get to see it all there, and you get the answers you need. You're not actually sitting there like wondering what happens next, and like you're not being kept on your toes and all that stuff. And I like that. I think that was something that we talked about before when WandaVision ended, before Falcon Winter Soldier was kicking up. I think John said, like sometimes you just like to be able to sit back and just watch the show. Like you don't want to have to formulate 50 million theories and like spend more time thinking about what's going to happen than you even do watching the show. And I feel like that's what we did with WandaVision a lot of time. But either way, guys, this episode, we got Zemo out. That was good. I think everything they did with Zemo was great. Like I really liked Zemo. Character. I think he was really cool in it, especially since he was kind of like flat in Civil War. Like in all honesty, like he was just kind of just like the bad guy. Like that's all he was. But now we're actually being able to see him. Like he's like funny. Like he's like he's like a funny dude. Like he never
got
came
some money too.
He's like
with money.
He's a baron, Rick.
I know, but it's funny with money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like a good line though. He's like, "Oh, so you've been rich the whole time?" He's like, "I'm a baron, Sam." Like,
yeah, right.
Like the fuck you think? Of course. Like, but it's like in Civil War, you would have never known these were the same characters. In Civil War, he was just a very cold, calculated, just like bad guy. He was very mustache twirly in a way in Civil War, in all honesty. But in this, he's freaking dancing at the nightclub, and he's kind of a badass too. Like he puts the mask on, which you could say, John, it was just a little bit of fan service. Just put the mask on you. But he puts the mask on, kicks some people's asses. I know I'm jumping around a lot here, but that whole time that scene was happening, when they're in there with the scientist guy, dude who made the super soldier serum, the girl's out there. She literally says like, "We got company" or whatever. She's just up there by herself the whole time. Like no one went up there. So they literally have like a fucking like 10-minute scene where like she's just whooping up on like 50 dudes, it seems like. And I'm like sitting here just like, they really need all three of them down there talking to the scientist guy when she's already said that, they have company. And
are you talking about when Agent Carter's like,
yeah,
keeping the bad guys from getting to the container ship?
Yeah, because she's like, "We got company," and then Agent Carter's out there like for a long time dealing with a lot of people. Like, and she's doing great. Like, it was a badass scene. Like, she's whooping ass. Like, you never got to see her like really do much of that at all. Like, you just had the one little scene when Winter Soldier broke out in Civil War where she tried to get a little fisticuffs with him. Well, I mean, it was a Winter Soldier, so it didn't really end well. But like in this, like she literally says, like, "We got company," and then no one comes up. Like, and she's just whooping ass up there. Doesn't complain about it, like, or anything. They didn't make it like a joke. There's like, "Oh, I could really use some help." Like, no. Like, I just thought it was just like, just why do all three of you need to be down there talking to this guy? Like, why don't you go help? I just thought it was kind of like, it was fine. I just thought it was like kind of stupid. Like, why even have her even radio in if no one's gonna come help? Like, like, but I know I love that stuff. They really cut right to the point with breaking him out of prison.
Yeah.
Which
was such a great scene.
It was good.
I mean, like, you think he's coming back there to ask Sam to help him break him out. It's already
Right.
done and
It's
over
already
with at
done.
that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. That was
It was
pretty.
good. Well, it's because too, they couldn't play it out because like the whole episode could have been them like the breakout, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
But in the end, they couldn't have done that because Sam would never go with it. So it had to play out that way. Like he would have never gone with it. He wouldn't have been like, Bug, I'm not helping you do this. Like, we're not doing that. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
literally anything but that is what's gonna happen because I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
so
a
it
big
was
deal.
like, yeah, it was really good to just have him. It's already happened. Like, he's just there. So that was good. So all the like Madrid stuff was like, it was Madrid, right? The nightclub scene,
Madripoor, yeah.
they made that out to be like a really like weird place.
Yeah, it was
man.
like cyberpunk.
It really was like,
That's like exactly
Yeah.
what it was like.
yeah,
Yeah, Rick sent that to us, and as I was watching, I was like, "It is. That's awesome. Like, I love this aesthetic that they got going on here."
Yeah,
it was
like
cool.
gritty underworld nightclubs and
Yeah, it's like literally what it was like too, though. It was cool. Like, and then like when they go into like the bar thing and he's smiling tiger or whatever. Like,
what the hell was that? What was that stuff? What did he just
the
whipped
snake's
out?
blood shot.
Oh, it was
yeah.
the snake's blood. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
That
what did he
fucked
put
up.
in it?
Or
Like,
it was the venom, one of the two. I don't know because it cut the stomach, so I just thought it was the snake's blood, but maybe it
it's
was
his
supposed to
bile
be
or
the
his
venom.
venom or
Like, I don't know. I don't know why you would
It's
do
something.
the stomach for. Yeah, it was something from the innards of the snake. Like,
gross.
It was a little gross. But the thing too, why did he have his phone on? He wouldn't have had his phone on this. I feel like that was
Just put it on vibrate. He's got to answer.
It was on vibrate.
Well, yeah, it was on like put it on silent, no
on silent.
vibration.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
mean
saying.
that whole scene could have been
Yeah, you just
crisis averted. Like,
you never see the Avengers have a phone on them.
yeah, right.
Until this. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it just happens to go off now. And then at the end, like he gets through the whole call, and for one, his sister can't pick up on the fact that he's trying to be like every time he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill that banker, and she's like yelling at the kid. Like, doesn't hear any of this shit. Like, just like maybe I should hang up. Like, what is funny? I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just like, oh come on. It's just one of those things. You just like go with it. Like, it is what
Right.
it is. Like, I love the show though. Like, honestly, I don't. It's such a, like I said off the top, it's such a different show than WandaVision. I know everyone wants to like be like, well, is it better than this? It's completely fucking different. I
Yeah.
can't. You know what I mean? It's complete.
Apples to oranges.
Yeah, it hasn't. One, even though they're in the same universe, they have absolutely nothing to do with the other. It is like so different on every level.
Right.
Like,
It really is. It's a totally different kind of show.
yeah. I don't know if I like it more or not. Honestly,
I
hard to say.
find that I'm watching this show differently than I watch WandaVision. WandaVision, I was watching and I was like actively trying to piece together what was going on, but I was also always kind of under this haze of kind of emotional. This emotional cloud was always over me about like Wanda and Vision and how tragic their story is and how this all was not going to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
With Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's almost like the emotional scenes are getting to me even more so because I'm not expecting them. Like last week's scene with Bucky and Sam when they're talking, and Bucky breaks down and says, "Look, if Steve was wrong about you, if you give up the shield and you're not Captain America, and he was wrong about thinking that you were the guy to be that, then he might be wrong about me and I might not be redeemed." Like that scene really got me last week because
was
I
great.
wasn't prepared for it. It was such a good scene and I wasn't prepared for it. And the same thing happened this week. But with an implication that the first time it happened twice. The first time it happened was when we actually finally get what's happened to Agent Carter, because we haven't seen Agent Carter since Civil War. And it was kind of forgot. She was kind of forgot about by the audience. I mean, she was forgot about by me, just as she was forgotten about by the characters. Like she was left out in the lurch. Out in the lurch. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah.
Because she helped Sam and Cap get their gear and get out of prison and be able to go hunt down Zemo and find out what was going on and try and clear their names. And she had to go underground and she was forgotten about just as kind of the audience forgot about her. And so that was a really kind of, powerful scene there, seeing what her life had become and how much she had given up to do the right thing in that scene. And then the very last scene of the show. I was shocked and I was super surprised. Like I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed to say I didn't pick up on what Bucky was picking up. Like I know
Right,
it's a
the
weird
little,
ways to
little
phrase that,
vibranium
but
balls. Like,
Yeah.
I literally, did not pick up on that. Those were the vibranium balls. That those were their little beads or whatever.
mhm.
And so when that reveal happens, I was just like, oh my god, that's amazing. And it took me all of 5 seconds to break down and be really sad in a way, because this is going to be our first return to Wakanda. It's going to be our first return to that world and those characters.
Yeah.
And you know that Chadwick isn't there for that.
Right.
Your cam froze, by
And
the way.
so it's going to be it's very I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared to deal with this yet.
Yeah, right. That's
I
true.
really
Yeah.
thought that this would be. I thought that this would be dealt with, and maybe it still won't be. Maybe the plans for this don't involve him, and so maybe it won't be.
Dude, what if he
But
shows
it's-
up though? What if he shot something for this? There was speculation that
God.
maybe he did. Like, that could be deep, man.
It would, it would be amazing. It would also be really just.
It'd be
You know,
both
that's
great
where
and hard.
that's
yeah.
where that's where the real world bleeds into these shows, and like just I don't know how that would play for me. I'm sure I'd love it. Obviously, I would give anything to see him play that character again. So
Yeah.
I'll be happy, but it will be very bittersweet if that's the case.
Rick, you're sitting so still. It looked
Oh,
like
you
your
thought I was
camera.
frozen?
It looked like your camera froze.
No, I'm just good at sitting still.
I got one scene I got to call out too, real quick,
Oh yeah,
because
this
I think we can all agree that this was a great scene
Captain Ears there.
when he gets when John Walker gets spat on.
Oh God, yeah,
Alright.
it's so symbolic. I mean,
I
when he's
love it.
just like, "Do you know who
Yeah.
I am?"
Oh, that's the
Shut
thing.
up.
They keep doing like. There was another scene I can't remember what it was, but they just do like the scene at the end I think of the last episode where it's just like "Stay out of my way" or whatever.
That
Like,
was so cheesy.
it's these stupid stereotypical lines that like they're just making them out to be like
A jerk.
it too on the nose with it. I think, you know what I mean, because I think like because they're doing that, then he's gonna end up just being a good guy the whole time, and he maybe just dies a hero, like he's just trying to do the right thing.
I could
'Cause-
totally see that happening.
yeah, because you would think that subvert your expectations, right? That's what it is. But you would think that if he was the bad guy, he would have like fucked that dude up. You know what I mean? Because if you spit in the Punisher's face,
You're gonna die.
you're gonna lose your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so like I could very well see that like he lost his shit for a minute, but I could very well see them actually not doing the whole U.S. agent thing with him being like pretty much a freaking Nazi kind of guy. You know?
Look at that look of defeat.
He really does look more sad than
Yeah, just like-
mad. He really does. But yeah, I'm sure Bucky and Sam would have had some great things to say about finding out that he got spit on.
Right.
Like,
Dude, I do not like, what's the other guy's name?
Battlestar.
Not a fan.
Well, it was funny. Interestingly enough, they used to call him. This was back in the day in the comics when they introduced the character Battlestar. He used to be called Buck, in reference to Bucky, but they stopped doing that because they found out, like ignorantly, that Buck was an old like slave term. So they realized it wasn't a good idea to have the black sidekick guy being
Yeah.
called Buck, which
Yeah.
I like just found that out the other day. I was just like,
Especially in today's culture.
yeah.
World.
So then they switched it to Battlestar. It's like
Galactica.
Battlestar might suck, but it's a little bit better of a name than Buck. Like,
They just seem so
Yeah.
overly confident as characters, and for what reason?
well, to be fair though, he is supposed to be like a badass soldier dude. I mean, you saw him whipping around the shield and stuff. Like he can do that, which I still don't really buy that. But I mean, he's got like 3 Medal of Honors or some shit. He's
Yeah.
some like very well decorated soldier. Like he's supposed to be a badass dude.
Like, you know, American hero.
Yeah, like it's a good guy. It's literally the kind of guy that like Tommy Lee Jones's character would have been like, "You're getting the serum." Like that would have been his volunteer from you know what I mean when they were picking the recruits for the super soldier serum. Like that'd be the guy. Like they pick him. Like he's that kind of guy. So, but yeah, I don't know. The Wakanda stuff will be interesting because like you said, it would be very bittersweet to where I think everybody would love to be able to see Chadwick in the role one more time, but it also would be like maybe it would be better just to like if we could just not.
Yeah.
Like maybe like it'd be. I'm kind of leaning towards it'd be really cool, and I'd like to see him one more time. But at the same time, it might make it that much more harder going forward. Like I don't know. It's definitely an interesting thing to see if they actually if they did shoot it, if they decide to keep it in or not. I think is actually a more like interesting question. Like had they shot some quick thing with Chadwick, does it stay in the show?
Right.
Because if it's not needed, like if it's just like a real quick, kind of like imagine it being the scene in Infinity War when they take Bruce Banner and like them get out of the ship and like Rhodey tricks him into bowing. If it's like a scene like that, like do they keep that in or just cut it out? Just as like just to not just to move on a little bit and not make it so sensitive. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Because I don't know which way I would lean, honestly. I don't know if it's like, well, I'd like to see it, but I don't know if you'd want to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way. Yeah, that's the thing, like I said up top, too. I don't, like, the show is just kind of straightforward, so I don't really know. I don't really have any theories or, like, I'm not theory crafting this show like WandaVision.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it, so I don't really have any idea. I mean, I know what's going to happen next. They set it up, like and I like that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like I like that. Like I know where it's going. I will say the Wakandan showing up, that wasn't expected. It's not like I knew that was going to happen, but like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like
it does make sense.
They're like, "What are you doing?" Like that dude, you just got the dude out. You're working with the dude after everything we did for you and Wakanda and all that shit. You're gonna break this dude out who killed T'Chaka. Like, what are you doing? Like, so it makes total sense that they showed up. I didn't think they would have that happen so quickly. He's like, they just broke him out, and like Wakanda's already like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
But I think that's gonna honestly blow over and not be like a big thing because I think they trust Bucky.
White Wolf.
Yeah,
White
like
Wolf.
I think they trust him, so they're gonna be like, just make sure he gets locked up. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think that's really all it's gonna be. So, I don't know. You guys got any like theories or anything like that? Because like I said,
I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't either. I was pretty blown away by that ending, so I'm still kind of reconciling that.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good ending. I liked it.
Yeah.
Like it was nice. So,
Unexpected.
for sure. Well, we'll call it here then, boys. So it's getting late. So Rick, where can everybody find you online, good sir?
You can follow me on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz. Come look at my stupid pictures. Follow me. Slide into my DMs or something.
All right, John, where can everybody find where can everybody find you?
Hard to follow that up. I'm on Instagram and Twitter over at Nightwing_K. This week, I don't know what happened this week. I fell out of social media for a week for some reason, but I should be back to getting stuff up next week pretty regular.
You're just like me then, but the opposite because I'm like never on there.
You're never on.
Like I'm never on.
I've seen you active on there like twice, and I was like, "What,
dude?" I got on Facebook for the first time in forever. Because if something gets posted to Facebook, it's because I posted it on Instagram, and I can just click a button and it posts it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm never on Facebook, but I got on Facebook for the first time the other day because I've been on a hunt for a Justice League Superman hot toy. So I got desperate and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see if someone's selling one on Facebook. And there was, and unfortunately it was sold before I could get to it. As is life. So but that's pretty much it. You can follow me though, maybe if I'm on there, but you can follow me at Sir Rob Bifo, simply there. Don't forget again, off the top here, or not off the top, this is at the end. You can submit topics and questions to this very show just by emailing us here at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Stay tuned for Wednesday. I'm going to be doing the review of the Hot Toys Thor Ragnarok Gladiator Hulk. It's a big boy figure. You're going to get a big review. Actually, I don't know if it'll be a big review because even though he's a very large figure, he's pretty straightforward, doesn't really come with a bunch of stuff, so it's probably not gonna really be that long of a review, thankfully. I try to keep these things in, like, 20 minutes, but sometimes I just fucking ramble on like I am right now, so but then, every Friday we do streams, so come hang out with us there. We talk, our first thoughts on, Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'll do a spoiler discussion of that there. We talked to Godzilla VS Kong this week, 'cause that was the same out too, so come hang out there every Friday around 8:30 PM, but, that'll do it for us today, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that sorts of fun stuff. But then until next time, take care.